welcome everyone to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. I'm your host, TJ, and with me here, as always, is our NHL analyst and expert, the grumpy old man. They say there is no shame to his game because he is always the same.
That's me.
Grumpy, how are you this fine Wednesday evening?
Oh, I'm actually doing pretty good, thank you.
Why is that? Because there's not been many Islander games?
Well, that means, but here's the thing, right? We're winning a couple of games in a row. So, no, that's not the case. That's not the case.
Grumpy, hold on, what type of shirt are you wearing right there today?
The enemy of the cartel shirt.
I'm going to need you to point it down so I could see the entire shirt, Grumpy. I'm going to need you to unzip the enemy of the cartel. Grumpy, what is that? Is that a picture of you cross-checking the word cartel because you're an enemy of the cartel?
Yes, that is exactly what it is. But I'm a little chilly, so I'm going to zip my thing back up. But yes, that is exactly what it is.
Where did you get a fine piece of clothing like that, Grumpy old man?
From the Islanders Never Say Die shirt store?
The Islanders Never Say Die merchandise store.
There you go. That's it.
That's where you got it for. And again, if you guys like the content and like to purchase a shirt, there are shirts in the link in the description below, just like that one you see there. You'll see the Grumpy's Groupie shirt. You'll see Maddie and the Jags. There's plenty types of shirts to pick from, all shapes and sizes, all different colors. So if you like the quality shirt you see right there in Grumpy, just know that there are additional shirts. And again, if you guys get shirts, take a picture of them and send them in or message us so I can make sure we show them on the show. That being said, Grump, no Islander games since our last podcast.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know how much you want me to talk about that. Yes, there were no games on since the last podcast. What are we to make of that? Do we think the Islanders are getting better? Are they improving? Have they stepped backwards? My concern is, TJ, I don't know, but it looks like you're missing a tooth.
What do you mean?
It looks like you're missing a tooth.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't think I'm missing a tooth, am I?
Oh, I don't know. Certain camera angles looks like you're missing a tooth.
I don't know. I thought earlier on I was having like an epileptic attack. I was like, why? It does look like I'm missing a tooth, but I'm not missing a tooth, Grumpy. Don't worry about it. I got a new chair. That's what I'll blame on it. It's a new chair. It's a different angle. I don't know, Grumpy. That being said, Grump, there was a lot that we talked about last podcast, and we kind of left untouched. And you know, there's no mystery behind it. The Islanders have been starting to play a little better. The power play has really started to picked up his play here as of recent too, Grump. And Kiefer Bellows has played well on the power play. I feel like he's earned himself a spot for additional games and on the power play unit. Now, Michael M was happening to ask me there in the DMs. He was saying he was fighting with people on social media saying that if we had Josh Bailey on that power play spot, that the outcome would have been the same in both of those games and that the power play goals still would have happened because Kiefer Bellows was not as integral as we were making him out to be.
I'd say those people that he's battling with have limited intellects, and that's putting it nicely. I could just call them stupid, but I'm not going to because they're Islander fans as well. They're just delusional. They're Josh Bailey sycophants.
So you think, though, that Kiefer Bellows' play has definitely warranted him additional time on the power play and additional time in the lineup? No?
For certain. What's the one thing that we, in recent past, have not done on the power play? Shoot the puck. He and Wahlstrom shoot the puck. I have no problem having Barzal out there with Dobson, Wahlstrom, Bellows, and put the lump of shit right there in the middle to deflect pucks. That totem pole, average Anders Lee. Put him in front. I have no problem. That's a good power play. Why? You have one guy who is a sneaky wrist shot, Noah Dobson, not afraid to shoot from the point, good passing. Matt Barzal, who is the creator, and two guys who shoot the puck and who are snipers, in Bello and Wahlstrom. And I don't know if you've noticed, the puck movement has been better, much quicker, much sharper. When Bailey's out there, it's like, anything he touches turns to garbage. We all know that.
Okay. We're gonna deviate away. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have asked such a loaded question off the beginning, but there were people arguing again that Kiefer Bellows' production wasn't, it's not all that we're making it out to be. And here's the thing. It always lies somewhere in the middle, right? Or never as good as you never as good as you he's never as good as you think he is. He's also nowhere near as bad as you think he is. I mean, he's had a huge resurgence as of late. I mean, multiple people were announcing his time of death. They said he's done as a prospect. Oh, I can't deal with Kiefer Bellows. He's not an NHLer. He doesn't belong here in the league. When he's been given this chance and when the young kids have been given a chance, they really show that they can perform. We had talked briefly about this on the last podcast. They said that Kyle Palmieri, and he mentioned it again, Kyle Palmieri is not guaranteed a spot, when he comes back and he's healthy. He's not guaranteed ice time. Now, if Barry holds true to that, and again, I'd like to think maybe he's a guy who's going to stay true to his word. I think he wants to find a way to put Palmieri back back on the ice. He's paying him $5 million a year. He was extremely important. They gave him a first and a first round pick essentially for him and a fourth round for Zajac at the trade deadline last year. I think they want him to play. Now, let me ask you this, Grump. Do you think if we continue to ride the hot hands, what is the likelihood of success for this team? Do you see the trajectory that we're currently on having a chance to alter, or do you think that, again, it's a moot point?
You mean for playoff spot?
Yes, I mean for playoff spot.
I don't know if we're going to make the playoffs regardless of what happens. All I know is that this newest iteration, playing the younger players, has been better than the veterans earlier in the season. I mean, not just for anyone. All you have to do is watch the games to know, right? The veteran group was underachieving, wasn't good enough defensively, had nothing to show offensively. And this younger group is putting pucks in the net. They're playing better defense. I like it. I like the younger guys better. Why? Of course, I've said 100 times before, there's upside with the younger players, no upside with the geezer squad. Just isn't. And I feel, my personal feelings that a vast majority of our forward group is taking a step back. And I'm not saying a monumental step back, but incrementally have gotten a little bit worse. The veterans have, their career high is here. They're on the downside now. And when you add all those guys kind of on the downside, it adds up to maybe not being able to play defense, not being able to mark a winger coming into the zone, not being able to get to the guy who's standing in front of the net. Those type of things, where the younger guys have a little bit more jump in their step, a little bit more speed, and they're able to make better. They're able to get there quicker.
And there's nothing better to motivate. I'm going to use the term, an endearing term, of a fat cat than saying, yeah, the young guy who wants to break it into the NHL, that it's been his lifelong dream. He's 22 years old. He sees a long future for himself. He's going to be fighting tooth and nail for every opportunity you give him. You know what I mean? There should be no complacency on this team. If the record wasn't enough to say no complacency needed here, also, hey, you're going to be fighting for an actual job. It's crazy how quick that can change your mentality and can really motivate some individuals. It's unfortunate that motivates them sometimes, but it does. That being said, Grump, before we get too deep in today's podcast, I want to remind you the Islanders Never Say Die podcast is a twice a week Islanders-based podcast. We go live every single Wednesday at 8 p.m. and every single Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, anytime. Was that, Grump?
Isn't that 8 p.m. TJ Standard Time?
Yes, 8 p.m. TJ Standard Time. But anytime the Islanders play a game, as long as it's not on a Sunday or a Thursday, we'll cover that game live. So to make sure you don't miss out on any of the action, make sure you subscribe on YouTube, like on Facebook, and follow on Twitter. The reason we don't cover the games live on Thursdays and Sundays are because we have another sports podcast called TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. That's a podcast literally we talk sports and we shoot the shit. We cover big game sporting events, whether it's college football playoffs. We're going to be covering fights upcoming, college basketball, NFL playoffs. We're going to be covering all big games, all big sporting events, and we're going to be live streaming those. And we just have a general sports podcast on Thursdays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and on Sundays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Grumpy Old Man.
Yeah. Well, everyone needs to listen to that podcast.
Absolutely.
Subscribe. Do whatever those things TJ tells you to do. He keeps on saying, I see this thing scrolling to the bottom. I don't see anything. So who knows?
In the link, yeah, it's in. I'm sorry, it's in the link in the description below, ladies and gentlemen. I forgot to mention that, but you're able to find the Islanders or the TJ and the Grumpy Old Man podcast in the link in the description below, as well as the place if you want to buy any type of merchandise. You'll find that in the link in the description below. That being said, Grump, I wanted to mention there were a few things that I've been thinking about here since our last podcast, right? Because we're in a time period where the Islanders action is, we're in a little bit of a lull. We had a 12-day break. We've got 7 days still remaining. So what we're going to do this upcoming Saturday, we're going to have the call-in feature. So, and again, it's I feel like it's the Wild West sometimes at the call-ins, and it's a good time. I enjoy it. But we're going to have the call-in this Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's always fun. I like when we get to talk to everybody, and if there's anything to vent about it. But there shouldn't be anything at the moment. But Grump, have you happened to check out what the Islanders' upcoming schedule looks like?
I have perused it recently, and it looks like the Islanders are going to be playing a lot of home games in a short amount of time. That should make everyone happy. If you listen to some of the naysayers, that's why we were losing. We didn't have enough home games. Well, now we're going to be playing a lot of home games in a row.
So yeah, you'll see. Ooh, I don't like how it did this, Grump. Let me see if I can change that. Yeah. So you're gonna see here, Grumpy Old Man, we're gonna have 10 home games in a 20-day stretch. So dating from January the 13th until I believe it's February the 1st, we're gonna have 10 home games over that 20-game stretch.
Let's go through shall we? To see what are winnable games.
Well, here's the thing, right? You look at the article released by the New York Post, and released by Ethan Sears. He's talking about the Islanders, and the team feels like this is a blessing for them. It allows them to get their footing underneath them, allows them to get some momentum. They're going to have 10 home games in a row. Everybody complained about the long, road trip. Well, we're going to have 10 home games in a row. We're going to have ample time to do it over. We're going to be playing a game every other day. It could be worse than that, and there's no travel. So this should be a time period where really it should play into the Islanders' favor, you would think.
Yeah. And hey, let's just for shits and giggles, let's see what we think our record's going to be over that 10-game span. I think that's a good idea because, TJ said, well, we're still in the playoffs if we get to a certain spot. I don't know if we met it. They canceled some games. So I don't know how many more games you're willing to give them. But I think it'll be fun let's see how we do in that 10-game stretch.
Well, yeah, again, like the magic number is about 94 points that you need in order to make the playoffs. That's where you can go ahead and say, I've secured our spot here. Even if in a wild card position, I've secured our spot in some capacity. So when you look at the Islanders in the standings, it's kind of a little deceptive, right? We have so many games in hand. I mean, like the games in hand obviously are a good thing for the Islanders. That being said, you're at the bottom of the standing, at least in our conference and in the Metro. And I want to say, yeah, we're at the bottom of the Metro, and the only teams we're ahead of in the Eastern Conference are the Ottawa Senators, the Buffalo Sabres, and the Montreal Canadiens. Again, we have a lot of games in hand, so it's all about we need to start climbing the uphill battle. We need to start pulling off some wins.
Without a doubt. Do we want to just run through the 10 and give our predictions?
Yes, Grumpy. Yes. I mean, you brought up 4 or 5 times. I thought you were just going to start into it.
No. Here's the thing. You're the guy who's in control of all these games, so we get them up on the screen. So let's go with one. Jersey, we should beat Jersey, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we should be. Now, remember, Jersey had just placed Dougie Hamilton on IR, and they just lost Jonathan Bernier for the season. So Jersey is a team now, and again, as high of hopes as you may have had for the New Jersey Devils, it's a real big uphill battle for them this year. I think that their season is funny thing is their season is effectively over. They've got a 5-point advantage over us. We've got 4 games in hand or 6 games in hand on them, and they lost Dougie Hamilton for a good stretch, and now they've lost Jonathan Bernier.
I don't see
the Devils have had a lot of injuries.
I don't see how you can say their season is over. I mean, points wise, they are, kind of comparable to where we are points per game. I mean, then you're saying that our season is over too.
Well, a little different though. Imagine us losing. I mean, the Dougie Hamilton, it'd be like us losing. We already lost Ryan Pulock, but could you? And again, Bernier isn't anywhere near as good of a goalie as Sorokin or even Varlamov, for that matter. But I'm just saying that the injuries have started to pile up for the Devils.
Yeah. I was being facetious, of course. I think their season is over. Here's the thing. I don't think Jersey's that good. I know there are some people some guests on this podcast think that Jersey is great. They're going to be, an up and coming team. I don't see it. That said, I'm picking the Islanders to win game 1 of the 10-game stretch against the Devils.
Not a bad
How
selection.
about yourself?
Yeah, I've got the Islanders winning. I mean,
Okay.
it's a home game. We're coming off of a good amount of rest there. I think that that's definitely a win. Yeah, Dougie Hamilton has a broken jaw, so there's no timetable for the return, but he's going to be out for a good portion. I don't know how long it takes to recover from a broken jaw, but it's definitely going to be a few weeks.
Well,
So,
the biggest thing is you can't eat with that either. So
eating through a straw.
yeah, okay, but that means you're going to lose weight. If you're drinking through a straw, you're going to lose weight.
He's gonna be eating protein shakes, man. 6 hot
Okay.
dogs a day and protein shakes will keep that weight on you with no issue. I'm telling you, you can blend up some hot dogs. You go ahead and slide. You can chop up the hot dogs, Grump, and maybe swallow them.
No, that's not the way it works. If they have to wire your jaw shut, you have to drink out of a straw. You're not going to be able to put on weight doing that. You're going to lose weight. I mean, that's just what's going to happen. So it'll take a little time for him to ramp up after that.
And I will be shocked, by the way, if we lose on, it's going to be next Thursday. If Islander fans will say, "Oh well, the Islanders have had so long of a break, now they've got to get restarted again." I'm sorry, you can't lose to the Devils with the injuries they have at home. Just not something you could do. So
True.
yes, I think we both have it penciled in there, a win against the Devils. Then we play on Saturday against the Washington Capitals, Grumpy Old Man. That's a 2:00, or that's 2:00 Eastern Standard Time game, Grump.
Okay, for me, that's a loss for us.
Really?
I just don't think we're good enough to beat Washington right now. I think Washington's a better team. Their coach is just as good, if not better than ours. So I predict a loss to Washington in that game.
All I'm going to say is here, Washington is 6-2-2 over the last 10. And if you look at the games they're going to have before us, right? They've had a pretty tough little stretch of games. They've got the St. Louis Blues that Friday beforehand. They've got the Minnesota Wild that Saturday. They'll play the Boston Bruins that Monday, and then they play us on Saturday. So they'll have a little bit of a break in between playing the Bruins and then playing us. But I mean, those are 3 tough opponents. I mean, formidable opponents in the Blues, the Minnesota Wild, and the Boston Bruins.
Yeah, but Washington's pretty good. So I'm picking Washington in that game.
Okay, fair enough, Grump. Then you've got the Philadelphia Flyers on that next Monday.
I'm going to pick us to beat Philadelphia in that game just because I hate Philadelphia so much. I cannot, in good conscience, pick us to lose to them. I just can't do it. Even if they're better, I'm not picking the Flyers to win.
Fair enough, Grumpy Old Man. And then you've got, I think we'll beat the Flyers. I mean, maybe an overtime loss against Washington, but then you've got the Arizona Coyotes. I think we're all in favor that we're beating the Arizona Coyotes, right?
Correct. 100% agree.
How about the Toronto Maple Leafs?
I'm going to pick us to beat Toronto. Even though I think Toronto is this season isn't as defensively inept as they have been in the past. They have more team buy-in to that concept. That's another team I just don't want to pick us to lose against. So I'm going to pick us to beat them.
You know who else is also playing great in net for them?
John Tavares.
Not John Tavares. Jack Campbell, Grumpy Old Man.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, I've got that's a tough game, right?
It wouldn't surprise me if we lost to them. It would not. But I just think if we're back to playing our style of hockey, a team like Toronto has issues or has had issues with that in the past.
Yeah, it's all about playing our system and our style. That is for certain. And then you've got Grumpy Old Man. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and put a W against Toronto. You've got the Philadelphia Flyers again on that upcoming Tuesday.
I'm picking the Islanders again, even though in all likelihood they're probably going to split those 2 games. I'm still going to pick the Islanders.
So you right now on this road trip,
home stand
on this homestand, you've got us in the first 6 games coming with 5 victories.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
You've got the Los Angeles Kings.
That's a win too.
Okay. Then you've got the Seattle Kraken and the Minnesota Wild.
That's another win. Seattle's a win. I think we lose to the Wild.
I was about to say. So you got a loss there to Wild, and you're saying, and then the Ottawa Senators on the 1st of
That's
February.
A win. That's a win.
So we're thinking to ourselves here. Hold on, Crump. Did I miss a game?
No, you did not.
Okay, maybe I missed added. So you're only projecting this to have 2 losses if the Islanders need to get themselves back into playoff contention. You need to come up with 16 points out of a possible of 20. Is that correct?
I think we have to have at least 14 out of 20 points. At least 14 out of 20. And honestly, we're going to have to start winning it almost like 7 out of 10 games the rest of the way to even have a shot. And the one thing I look at this, man, there's only a couple of teams that are good in there. And we haven't played a whole lot of really good teams this year. That means all the lion's share of the toughness of our schedule is coming up at the back end of the season.
Yes, we're going to talk about that. And trust me, and that last month there of I think it's in March, maybe it's March or April, we have a long road trip. And again, there's some tough opponents mixed in there. But you're right. We have not played a lot of metropolitan opponents. And this is, this 10-game home stretch is a good chance really to capitalize on. I don't think Philly's a fantastic team. You play them twice at home. You've got here the Devils. That's a team that's a very, very winnable game at home. And you talk about it, Washington Capitals. I'll be interested to see how that one plays out.
Yeah, I think Washington beats us. I just think Washington's just better.
We haven't shown you're close on the math, by the way, that we need 98 points is exactly 2 out of every 3 games. We need to win 2 out of every 3 games. That would be a 36 wins in 18 losses in regulation.
Yeah, I mean, chances of that happen are not great, honestly. But here's the thing: the more games you win on the front end, the less you have to win on the back end.
We play. Think about this, right? We're playing against some teams that are kind of towards the bottom end of the league here over this 10-game stretch, right? Obviously, Washington at the top half, Toronto is at the top half, and the Minnesota Wild are at the top half. The Devils are at the bottom half of the league. The Flyers, bottom middle pack. The Kings, bottom middle pack. The Seattle Kraken, bottom of the pack. The Ottawa Senators, bottom of the pack. We're playing a lot of teams towards the bottom or the bottom middle of the NHL standings. You have got to come away with wins at home against teams towards the tail end of the pack. And again, you need to get on a streak here. You know what I mean? You need to be able to carry some momentum forward.
Yeah, without a doubt. That said, you say how Philadelphia is the bottom pack, Jersey's bottom pack. Well, you realize they're better than we are. Points wise. And I think the same is true with the Kings, isn't it? Yeah, and the Kings are better than us too. So while they're the bottom of the pack, they're still better than we are.
When I'm talking bottom of the pack, I'm talking about, when you're adding wins and losses, even overtime / shootout losses, they're teams with losing records, right? The Kings, when you look at them, 16, 12, and 5. They technically have lost more games this year than they've won. When you look at the Eastern Conference, you look at the Devils. They have 13 wins, 16 regulation losses, 5 overtime losses. The Flyers, 13 wins, 14 regulation losses, 6 overtime losses, overtime / shootout losses. There's a lot of teams in here with losing records. I know the Islanders have a losing record at the moment, but I'm saying if you want to get back on track, you have got to win against the teams that are at the bottom or the bottom pack in the NHL when you're at home. You have to.
If you want to go with that logic, we're 10-18. If you want to use that logic, we're 10-18.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it's an uphill battle. It really is. Like I said, for me, I think the chances of us actually making the playoffs, because it looks like right now there's only one spot up for grabs, and that's a spot that Detroit currently has, or Boston is right there. That the Boston's a team you have to worry about, in my opinion.
Yeah, Boston is now already overtaken the Red Wings. And again, Boston, now you talk about 29 games played, 36 points. We've got 28 games played, 26 points.
Yeah. So, they have a 10-point lead on us, and they're just going to get better. When Rask comes back, they're going to be solidified in goal. Okay. That's the one thing that's been really, I don't think Boston's played well this year. They've had a bunch of COVID issues too. I don't hear their coach crying about it in the press, but they've had a whole lot of COVID issues too. And they still do. I think they have today, Louis DeBrusque has gone on COVID protocol, and 4 of their assistant coaches. So, but you don't hear them crying about it. Matter of fact, they just say, hey, we just play with the guys we have. They're not like our GM and coach.
I'm not even going to respond to that. But over this home stretch, we have got to come away with points. I mean, 14, ideally, right? Anything more. Yeah. I mean, a good road trip, at least 14. 14 is needed. I think 16 is considered, is a home trip as a homestand. I think 16 is considered a good homestand. 14 is the bare minimum of what you need. You can't
Agreed.
come away with only 10 or 12 points over this homestead.
No, because
Especially
then
with the level of competition that we're playing. I mean, this is, again, bottom tier NHL teams. You have got to come away ideally with 16 points.
exactly. Okay, so you're saying 16. Okay, I mean that's fine. I mean six, half dozen, six or half dozen of another, whatever. The bottom line is we need to get more points. We need to start winning games on a consistent basis. I like the direction of the team with the younger guys in there. Will Barry fall back into his old habit of just riding the old guys until the wheels fall off? I hope not, but who knows?
That's going to be the biggest issue, and that is going to be the crux of the issue. We've seen the young guys perform. We've seen it out of Kiefer Bellows. People don't like him. I know some people don't like him. I've liked what I've seen of Kiefer Bellows. I've always thought, again, you may argue, oh, he's not a great skater. What he does in the offensive zone when set up is something that our team desperately needs. A guy with a shoot-first mentality, a guy that can go ahead and augment there with good vision. You've seen the wonders he's done on the power play. And again, the point production he's had, and especially when he plays on the top line role or plays in a top six role, the guy produces points. The guy scores goals. That's what our team desperately needs. It's not, it's not like we need another defensive-minded forward out there on the ice. We need guys who could score. That's for certain, Grump.
He's played half of the amount of games. He's played 14 games this year. He's our 9th leading scorer and our 9th leading goal scorer. And he averages 11 minutes a game. I mean, I don't know what else you can expect from him, honestly, but it seems like the more he plays, like I've always said, I said it ad nauseum for 2-3 years now, if you play the young guys without the threat of benching, where they know they're going to get a consistent shift and they're going to play night after night, you'll see improvement from these players. And you're starting to see it now.
I want to skip forward real quick, talking about scheduling, right? Because we say how many points we need. The reason I say 16 points over this time period. Also, I want to show you what the schedule looks like in April, the last month of the regular season. We've got a lot of tougher road games and even tough home games, right? You talk about how easy this next 10-game stretch is. 16 is, I'm talking about, that's a good stretch. We need about 16 out of the possible 20. In April, last month of the year, we play the Rangers twice. We play the Carolina Hurricanes twice, home and away. We will play the Florida Panthers. We play the Tampa Bay Lightning. We play the Washington Capitals, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Pittsburgh Penguins. We play the St. Louis Blues. And when I'm looking at this schedule, Grump, I only see about 3 or 4 games that are 4 games that should be like, hey, these are games we can pencil in as automatic wins. The Devils, maybe the Dallas Stars, which is another road game. The Montreal Canadiens needs to be winning. The Buffalo Sabres. Look at the back end of that schedule in April, right?
Isn't there more going further down also?
No, I'm just saying there's.
Okay. We're going to close out our season with 3 straight losses. That much I guarantee you. So we're going to have, you just might as well just throw those games. I figure we're going to split with the Rangers. We're going to lose to Florida. We're going to lose to Pittsburgh. We're going to lose to Toronto at Toronto. And then, so how many losses is that? Man, that's a lot of losses.
I'm just saying the last 7 games of the year, guys. I hate looking at this, but you've played Toronto, a good team. You play the Florida Panthers, another good team. You play the Rangers, who are playing well this year. You play the Buffalo Sabres. That's a winnable game. You play the Carolina Hurricanes. You play the Washington Capitals and the Tampa Bay Lightning. 6 of those 7 teams are teams that are automatic locks in the playoffs this year. Automatic locks.
I feel like we have to have a 10-point lead going into the last 2 weeks.
Just to be safe. That's what I'm saying. Like we could, I'm saying we can get hot and really roll off a few games. I'm just saying the last month is a scary month regarding the competition, right? But if you don't beat the best, how could you expect to win the cup?
I think everyone's going to be, all those teams are playoff teams going to be, except for Buffalo, of course, and they're going to be geared up. They're going to be gearing up for the playoffs. So I don't see an easy game in the bunch. I mean, I think we'll lose. Like I said, I look at that 7-game stretch, or even adding the next 2. I could see us very easily losing 7 of the last 9 games to end the season.
If we did that, I can promise you we would not make the playoffs.
Yeah. And remember, we're usually not real good the back end of the regular season. At least haven't been the last couple of years.
Yep. So I'm just saying, like, you look at the tail end of the schedule, man, oh man, it's tough. And when everybody says, well, this is a perfect situation, this is just like the St. Louis Blues, what's stopping us from being the Blues? Oh, what's stopping us from being the Carolina Hurricanes of old when they won the cup?
Talent.
Okay.
Number one is
I
talent.
don't think the Carolina Hurricanes had all that much talent when they won the cup. Who was the
Really?
goalie? Was it Cam Ward was the goalie?
Yeah, he was sensational that year, though.
Okay, we've got a sensational netminder in Sorokin. I'm just saying that the back end of our schedule. I haven't got to look back on what was it like was it 06 or 03 that the Hurricanes won the cup?
Had
Early
to be
2000s.
wasn't it 07?
Maybe it was 07.
Maybe
It
06. I don't know what it was.
again, it was before 2000. It was well over a decade ago. But I'll have to look at the schedule. I don't think they had a tough back end of the schedule in that last month of the year. And that's what can make or break you when you're in a bad situation. You've got to try to make up points quick as possible. I wanted to show you the scheduling because I thought, hey, we've got 10 home games. What realistically do we need to come away with points wise? And for anybody saying, 12 games over this home stretch is a success. No. 13 games over this home stretch is a success upcoming. No.
Not when you're in the
serious.
hole.
I'm being serious. If we want to make the playoffs, it's got to be closer to 16 points out of the 20 possible points over this home stretch. It's that dire looking at how tough that last month of the year is.
Here's the thing. You can't get away with just getting 12 points out of this homestand and thinking it's a success because of the hole that you dug for yourself at the beginning of the year with the lack of production by the veterans in this team. I mean, sorry. I mean, that's the reason why you're in the boat you're in right now. And Barry's just steadfast refusal to play the younger players, which has been his MO everywhere he's been and has cost him jobs in the past. So, we'll see what happens this year. But if they continue to play the younger guys, I think we have more upside going into that final stretch.
Don't disagree with you, and I think that's what's needed. I just wanted to cover, nuts and bolts. How many points do we need to come away with? Because when hockey starts back up again, we're going to have a lot of games in a short time period, and I think it's always good to have kind of an understanding of what needs to be done now if we want a chance later on. It's an uphill climb, so. But we do have some comments, Grump. Tony G is saying, "I bet TJ drinks antifreeze when it's really cold outside." I do.
That sounds like it'd be a dumb thing to do, so I could go with that.
I drink antifreeze and then I go ahead and bundle up with about 2 or 3 layers because my body starts shaking because it gets chills.
Do you wear pants or shorts? You look like a guy who just wears shorts all year long.
Oh, I am a guy that wears shorts for certain.
Dumbass. It's so stupid.
Michael M saying TJ and Grostradamus.
Michael M, the man, the myth, the legend.
Absolutely, grumpy old man. And the Matthew S saying, not much to talk about. LOL. Grump, I think there's things to talk about here regarding the Islanders. No.
Yeah. And also, with TJ, with that snaggly looking tooth you got going on there, it looks like you're missing like one of your teeth is out. And I was trying to think of where you live. And then I thought myself this old joke that the toothbrush was invented in TJ's house. And they say, how do you know? Because if it was invented in anybody else's house, it would be called the teeth brush.
Grumpy, it would have been a better joke if you didn't go. Just calm it down a bit, man. Breathe a little bit, Grumpy. Scott L saying, good evening, guys. Good evening, Scott. How are you? Michael M says, we need them to discuss if we win the last 2 games with Bailey on a power play over Bellows.
No. Think about how many power play goals we've scored in the last couple of games. If Bailey's on the power play, we don't score. That's been well established. We have years and years and years of data. This is not new. It's not a slump. This is the norm, not, the aberration. It's the norm. It's normal. Josh Bailey's on a power play unit. It doesn't score. Josh Bailey's on the ice. You don't score.
Hold on. Is that simple? Is it as simple as if you add Josh Bailey in the mix, you lose?
Pretty much.
Christ almighty, Grumpy. Oh, man. Well, I wanted to pull up the power play. Yeah, you look at it as of recent, right? Power play. We've had 4 games in a row where we've scored a power play goal. And if you look at it, even predated, right? We've got 6 of our last 7 games we've had a power play goal. We talked about the special teams unit needing to pick it up. It looks like they've started to do that, Grump.
Well, about time, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't say that. But as we discussed right at the top of the show, got 2 shooters on the power play. You got Matt Barzal, while he's not a shooter per se, can shoot the puck and was good at it. Noah Dobson, sneaky wrist shot, puts the puck on net. That's what we need. And you got Anders Lee doing what he does best, stand in front of the net. That's why our numbers are looking up. It's a
Makes you
nice mix with guys who move the puck crisp, much quicker than it has been. I mean, it honestly looked like we were playing the suspended animation on the power play most time. That has changed with this new grouping out there. You know how Barry is, though. Anytime something starts to work, well, this isn't working. The useless pieces of trash, the veterans, they're not working. So let's break this up and try to put some element over there, and then nothing winds up working. And then they'll blame the young guys. Well, look, they're not producing anymore. Well, Barry, it's because you took them away from their comfort zone and put them somewhere else, trying to resuscitate the moribund careers of the veterans on the squad.
You know what I just did, Grumpy? I just realized it's actually been even further. 8 out of our last 10 games, we've had a power play goal or more.
Funny. Didn't that coincide with COVID?
I mean, you look at, I mean, like December, it started December 2nd. I mean, we started taking a COVID break. When did we start taking it? It was after Thanksgiving, right? Yeah, it was right after Thanksgiving, the
Calgary
26th.
game. Wasn't it the Calgary game?
The Penguin game. I thought it was the Penguin game. I remember it was on Black Friday. And then we started to get the games. We got the games postponed to the San Jose Sharks. And since ever COVID, right, after the San Jose Sharks on the 2nd, we've seen power plays kind of picked it up a bit.
Okay. Well, that's when the young guys started being matriculating into the lineup.
It is, Grump. It is. And I'll tell you, so I don't think there's any, mystery as to why we've seen that production and performance either. I mean, it's good. It's a welcome sign. You think about how much the power play had struggled earlier on this year, Grump. It had been mighty. So, it's good to kind of see the ebbs and flows. And right now we're ebbing.
So we have 9 goals in the last 10 games, is it?
9 power play goals in the last 10 games. I mean, I'll be honest with you. You're averaging about a power play goal a game for a team that is bereft of scoring. Generating some goals on, your special teams unit is fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, our special teams need to overproduce because we've not been really good at 5-5 this year, which has been our MO in the past, right? Maybe we weren't scoring on the power play, but we were really exceptional on 5-on-5. That's not been the case this year.
Over that 10-game stretch, Grumpy Old Man, we have been scoring on 32.62% of all power play opportunities.
Okay, that's not going to last.
No, right? I mean, you're not going to be scoring 34.62% all power play opportunities. I'm just saying, right? You talk about riding a hot hand. I love it. I mean, like you talk about where are the reasons for optimism? Our power play unit has started to pick up. Do I expect us to score, 36% of power plays for the rest of the year? Probably not. No,
definitely not.
Let's say even we are able to keep momentum, and let's say for the remainder of the year from this point on, we're able to score on 24 or 25% all power play opportunities. Better than it was before this break. Better than it was here. I want to say better than our season average at the moment.
You realize that's unrealistic as well, right? 25%? It's unrealistic. I'd be happy with 18, 19%.
Okay.
I mean, that's a middle of the pack, right? For power play, 18, 19%.
I'll have to pull up exactly what middle of the pack is.
I mean, I'm just saying 33% is ridiculous, and 25 is ridiculous also. We're not going to score at a 25% clip. But right now, I'm happy with the production. Why? People haven't seen the quickness that we're moving the puck. They haven't seen guys willing to shoot the puck like they are now. I mean, that's the big difference from our old dead-in-the-water power play that we've been utilizing for the last couple of years when the Josh Baileys and the Nicolettis and their ilk is out there. Guys who wouldn't shoot the puck. It's easy to defend when you know somebody's not going to shoot. Tougher to defend when you have to worry about somebody shooting all the time. And the fact that they're able to dish it and not afraid, Bellows and Wallstrom are not afraid to make a pass from the trigger spots. They're not afraid to do that. It opens up opportunities for other guys. Why? Because they're not afraid to shoot the puck, gets guys worried about everything, opens it ice up for everybody else.
Okay, just to kind of give you, thanks for stalling enough time, just to kind of give you an or a layout here of what power play numbers look like. Edmonton leads the league with 30.53% on the power play. I'll just pop them up on screen, Grump. Again, I'm just saying, put it as scoring at 23% here for the remainder of the season puts you in the top half. I mean, just to kind of give you a layout of what it is. If you're scoring 23%, you're where Carolina is, right?
We're not that good. We're not that good. Scroll down a little bit. Where's 18 and 19%?
That will put you about 8. That would put you about 8th in the league. 18, 19% is bottom half of the league, man.
Okay, but don't you think that's where we kind of belong?
We're already at 18.67.
Okay, but
So
okay,
you
but
think we're kinda average out around there? You don't see us increasing that over the year?
no, I think, like I said, we weren't going to shoot the 5% that we were before, but we're not going to shoot 35% the rest of the year either. We're going to settle in middle of the pack is where we're going to be, and I think you just have to be happy with that. Maybe a little bit more if Barry sticks with these particular combinations, but as we known, as soon as the old guys are ready to play, they're going to play at the expense of the younger players. I hope he proves me wrong. I really do.
I just want you to get a load of this. So in our again, we haven't played all that many games, but in our last 10 games, we've scored 9 of our 14 total power play goals this entire season.
Yeah,
So let that sink in.
yeah, that's not sustainable. And it has to be more than 9 out of 8, 9 out of 15.
No, 9 out of the 14 power play goals we've scored have come over the last 10 games.
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood you. My bad.
Grumpy. James F saying, "What's up?"
What's
Guys,
up, James?
What's up, James? Scott L saying here, Chicago and Pittsburgh made a deal today. Axel Nylander went to Pittsburgh for Sam Lafferty. Would you have done Del Cole for Nylander?
Why not? Del Cole's never going to be a player here, ever. We have 1,000 Michael Del Coles. Why not take a flyer on an Alex Nylander? Why not? It's not something we do, though. Doesn't matter. He never would have played under Barry anyway. Doesn't matter.
Hold on, what's been going on with Nylander, by the way?
That's a different Nylander.
I'm thinking Alexander Nylander. I'm thinking about I'm thinking about the guy drafted by the Sabres, right? Yeah, the guy originally drafted by the Buffalo Sabres. He was the 8th overall pick in the 2016 draft. Grump. He was with the AHL affiliate for the Chicago Blackhawks. He's been down there in the A all season. 23 games played in the A, 12 points.
I take but what's Michael Del Cole though?
A depth piece of which we have plenty.
He's not even a depth piece. He's a guy in the minors. Why not? Maybe there's some upside to Nylander. There's none for Michael Del Cole.
Tony Cheese says this show starting late is very close to being deemed as too easy to make fun of.
Yeah, true.
Oh, man. Anthony R saying condolences to Barry and his family. What happened, Grumpy?
I heard that his mom, I think, passed away. No,
I just did a quick Google. I wasn't able to see anything. If that's the case, obviously, I hate to hear that for Barry and the family. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's what Frank Hayes saying. Sad about Trotz's mom. It's so horrible. There's no way if the Islanders finish poorly that they'd fire him after this year. Ownership would look really bad. Trotz will be gone for a while, attending to his family. I'm hoping something this terrible lightens him up a bit. Something like this can make a person see things in a different light.
All right, let's tackle that. It is terrible. If the Islanders finish poorly, or let's say they play well under Lane Lambert and Barry comes back and they play poorly, I think it's very easy to say bye-bye to Trotz. Like I said, performance this year is not as important as team direction after this year. As I've said before, I don't think we're going to make the playoffs just because of the hole we dug for ourselves. Is just, for me, just too deep and too many teams we have to pass. So, we have to have that conversation. Lou has to have that conversation with Barry. Hey, the guys that you love are a little long in the tooth. They've lost a step. We need to incorporate the youth. We need to get younger. We're going to go on a retool, whatever you want to call it. But we want you to play the younger players at the expense of the veterans. Are you willing to do that? If he says no, for me, bye-bye, Barry. I don't care. It's a business. It's a business. And I sent you a text earlier today, TJ, about the NHL and some other things. It's a business first and foremost. So I don't think just the fact that Barry's mom passed away should have any bearing at all on if he's fired or if he stays at the end of the year. That said, I don't think a Leopard can change their spots. It's not going to change the way he coaches at all.
Now, how long is Lane Lambert going to be the head coach? I know that he's going to be, Barry Trotz is going to have a little bit of an absence, but how long is that I mean, like, I know every situation is different. I didn't know if he said, "Hey, I'll be out for like an additional week afterwards," or kind of what that had looked like. I wasn't sure.
I don't know the time frame for his return. I do not know.
Because I did see today, right, that Lane Lambert's going to be, Lane Lambert's going to be the head coach, interim head coach, as Barry Trotz is still out. I mean, again, I know grieving is different for everyone, but I'll be interested to see when Barry comes back. What the record looks like if we're able to rattle off some wins. I think Lane Lambert provides like a little bit of I mean, we've seen it on the bench before. Lane Lambert's a little bit more of a hothead than than Barry Trotz, and I say that in the nicest way possible. He's a guy who can really light a fire under somebody's ass.
Will Lane Lambert roll with the young guys? Does he have that power? Does he have the autonomy to do what he thinks is best, as opposed to, well, this is how Barry wants you to do it? So far, I like his implementation of Kiefer Bellows and Oliver Wahlstrom back in the lineup, right? I mean, so for me, I like what I've seen so far. The fact that Salah was playing, yes, he didn't play a whole lot of minutes, but it almost seems like he's a regular now, even with Pulak out. What happens when Pulak comes back? And he should be close to coming back within the next couple of weeks. Then what happens to the defense corps? Is he still coaching? I don't know. But like I said, I like the fact that he's not afraid to play the younger guys at the expense of some older veterans who, for lack of a better word, just don't have it anymore. I mean, look at Kiefer Bellows. He's got 3 goals in 14 games. You realize how many other Islanders that's better than? I mean, it's astonishing to me. It's astonishing. I mean, your pal Bailey has 1 goal the whole year. Oh, Josh Bailey's great. I mean, Kyle Palmieri, Zach Parise, Mayfield, Green, Jarnack, Androv, 1 goal. Everybody else, 0. I mean, 0.
And to play devil's advocate, Phil's Facts was saying here, with the last 7 games of the season, right? It's a really, really tough portion of the stretch. He says it may be actually beneficial for the Islanders because if those teams have already clinched playoff spots, maybe they're going to start, preparing there for the playoffs and kind of just zooming in on the playoffs. Maybe they're going to be doing some sort of load management with their star players, with their upper echelon players, and maybe the Islanders are going to be able to play, against a lesser talented version of the team itself.
Let Phil, that bootlicking weasel, come up with any type of excuse. I think you're playing for seeding at that point. I mean, I don't think the gap is going to be so monstrous between 1 and 5 or 1 and 6, where you're going to have to win games.
You talk about the Rangers, right? Right now, they're competing for number one of the conference is what they're looking at. The same with the Carolina Hurricanes, right? You play them twice. You've got the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers. I mean, those are both teams are going to be fighting over, where they're going to be positioned as well. It's not like you're right. I don't think there's going to be one clear person walking away with position.
You have 5 teams. The top 5 teams are all within 2 points of one another in the playoff hunt. The Lightning, of course, are first, Panthers second, Rangers, Capitals, and Hurricanes. And they're all within 2 points of one another. I mean, that's going to be, I don't think you're going to see any team run away with it. I don't think you're going to see any of those 4 teams just completely fall apart either, or any of those 5 teams completely fall apart.
I know they'll have a secured spot locked in. I know the Islanders last year kind of hit the snooze button towards the end of the year. It's not what a lot of teams do, I feel like, though. A lot of times they're fighting for home ice advantage because they would rather have, in the tie or, if it goes 7 games, they'd rather have home ice advantage. I get it that maybe some of them are going to do so. I still think that majority of those teams were going to play, let's say like 1 or 2 of those teams say, okay, we're not going to get the 1 seed. We're going to be either 2 or 3, and we're inevitably matching up against the Toronto Maple Leafs, or we're going to inevitably match up against the Florida Panthers or the Tampa Bay Lightning because they're number 2 or they're number 3, whatever it is, how it lays out.
The teams you mentioned are all really, really, really bad matchups for us.
Well, no, I'm just talking about if they start hitting the snooze button. We're going to play whoever wins. Grump, we're going to be in a wild card spot and all that. We're not.
Grump, we're going to be in a wild card spot if we even make it. And we're going to be the last team in the wild card spot. Pittsburgh's got 41 points. That's 15 points more than we have, or 13 points more than we have, right? I mean, did they show any signs of slowing down at all anymore? I mean, I don't think so. I thought that 15 points up on us. We're not making up 15 points on Pittsburgh. It's just not happening.
They're also on an 8-game winning streak.
And that's without, is Malcolm even back yet? I mean, Pittsburgh's good. They have a really good coach. I mean, they have a couple of old war horses out there, and they got a nice mix of young players in there too. They've done a nice job being competitive for a number of years and still being unable to actually overturn most of the roster. You still have to worry about Malkin and Crosby and Letang. But other than that, they've kind of retooled the whole roster with younger guys. Nice job by the GM there. I think it's Hextall, isn't it? I forget.
I always wonder myself, when is he finally gonna fall off? You know what I mean? And
He's
when
UFA
when
at
when
the
is
end of the
Crosby ever gonna fall off? You know, they're both fantastic players and fantastic talents. I just always wonder myself, when were they ever gonna start to slip? I wonder the same thing about Ovechkin, and he's having a fantastic year. Seems like like when you talk about most players age like wine or vinegar instead of wine. Only the legends and the guys who were first ballot Hall of Famers are guys that can continue that production into their mid and late 30s.
Guys with supreme athletic ability and the ability to skate last longer than other type players. And they all have that except for Ovechkin. He's the one exception to that rule because he plays a physical game. Malkin really doesn't play a super physical game. Neither does Crosby, of course.
Malkin could be taken off of his game too, but to give you an update, yeah, Malkin they said he will not, he's close, he's nearing his return, but will not be used as an option against the Blues on Thursday, but he's getting close to his return. So he'll probably be back in a week and a half, 2 weeks from now. He'll probably be back after that knee surgery he had in the summer. They've been playing the entire season without Malkin.
That just makes them better. That just makes them better.
I don't assume they're going to play worse with Malkin, but they're a team that's been kind of streaky. Even last year, they were kind of a streaky team.
You know who else has played well this year? Our pal Tristan Jarry. He's played very well this year for them.
Okay, we saw who Tristan Jarry really is.
He shut us out, though. He shut us out this year.
Oh, we saw what he really was in the playoffs, right?
Yeah. Okay, but he's playing. Okay, I'm just talking about making the playoffs and us catching and potentially passing Pittsburgh. Because we wouldn't play Pittsburgh until if everything turned out the way that it would, we'd play them in like the Eastern Conference Finals. That's not happening.
Oh, man.
I'm just saying he's playing well for them. That's all I'm saying.
Tony G is saying, after being guilted into purchasing your great aunt's homemade candles on Etsy's, slide over to the Islanders Never Say Die Etsy and get yourself a shirt.
Thank you, Tony. That's exactly what you should do.
Absolutely. After you have to buy your rocks and your minerals for Marie. James F says here, are the Rangers for real? This is a good question, Crump. The Rangers have been playing fantastic hockey, they're piling on wins.
I think at some point they're going to get exposed. That said, what's really the difference between this team and last year's team? It's the coach. You had College Quinn as David Cutler, alias D-Cut from Islanders Misery Rated R. I don't know why I always want to say Islanders Rated R, and I catch myself. Islanders Misery Rated R. Named him as College Quinn. And you're just seeing when you have high-end talent, which the Rangers do, a good coach can help put you over the top. That said, I still don't think their defense is good enough. I just don't. Not for a Stanley Cup run. They'll make playoffs. I was hoping they would not make playoffs this year. That was how, I thought that, Pittsburgh would make it, but I didn't think the Rangers were going to make it. I was mistaken. They're going to make the playoffs.
I thought Pittsburgh would fall off occasionally. I know they won the division. Everybody was counting them out. I still had them in third or maybe a fourth. I had them making the playoffs in some capacity, but Shesterkin's numbers in net have been they've been utterly fantastic, right? You talk about a save percentage of a .936 save percentage and goals against average of a .209. For the Rangers, right? That's fantastic. And sometimes you have an extremely hot goal. Again, I think they've played better defense this year than they have in the past. But, him and net it's a night and day difference from what, hit production last season. And you talk about, how easy that is to be successful when your goalie saving 93, almost, 93.5% of his shots and only giving up 2 goals, 2.09 goals a game, right? That's fantastic.
Yeah, his play this year has been a revelation for the Rangers. We all knew he was good, but last year he struggled. But this year he's regained form. And in the past, not as much now as in the olden days. But in the olden days, you see a goalie be really good one year and then really trash the next year. It was like up and down, up and down. And he's really improved his play this year. I mean, hey, kudos to the Rangers organization. They have themselves a goalie for a long time as well, just like we do.
To answer your question, are the Rangers for real? Yes. And it's funny, right? You talk about all these naysayers. You said, oh, you don't have to worry about the Islanders record until game 41. That's when you officially can start worrying about where the Islanders are. You kind of laugh those off and you just think to yourself, oh, man, living you're living in a world where you don't have to actually recognize the possible issue until later on. And then you'll find a whole bunch of excuses to skirt any type of actual legitimate problem and to have that recognizing moment, that realizing moment where you say, maybe there is a deeper seated issue. But people always ask, oh, well, the Rangers, they're on a point clip right now to have 115 points. There's no way they're going to keep up that pace. Yeah. You see what the difference is with a legitimate head coach and a goalie who's playing out of his mind. I mean, Shesterkin's a fantastic goalie, and he's playing exactly like that. Shesterkin's playing, you could argue, he's playing better than any other goalie in the NHL at the moment.
Yeah, he's been really, really good. I don't think the Rangers are going to have 115 points. You're going to see maybe some of these younger guys kind of hit the wall at the end, right? Even the young guys who've been up for the last couple of years. Remember, we only played 48 games or however many it was the first year and then 54 last year. So, they haven't played a full NHL season. So you could see some of the younger guys hit the wall. You absolutely could see that. So would it be surprising if the Rangers? Here's the thing. I don't think there's any way the Rangers miss the playoffs, but I still don't look at them as a contender for the Cup this year. I just don't. I don't think their defense is good enough.
One of the only guys who's got a better save percentage than Shesterkin this year, Grump?
Tell me. Tristan
The
Jarry?
Toronto Maple Leafs. Jack Campbell.
God.
Jack Campbell, a 9.39 save percentage and a 1.86 goals against average. You talk about another goalie who's I've always been a Jack Campbell fan, and you know that. I was a Jack Campbell fan back when he was originally drafted by the Dallas Stars, way back in the day.
That's true.
And he was always a career journeyman. I don't root for the Maple Leafs, but I like the guy personally. I'd say Shesterkin's number one goalie in the league right now. You look at numbers wise, and who knows if he's able to keep up at this pace. But are the Rangers for real? I think the answer to that is yes.
Do you remember who Toronto's goalie was against us? The game that they beat us, I think it was 1-0 earlier this year. Was it Campbell or was it the backup? For some reason, I want to say it was the backup.
Oh man, Grumpy, you're really making me.
Okay, like I said, I for some reason I think it was the backup. I mean,
was it Joseph Wool, or was it Michael Hutchinson or Peter Mrazek? I'm trying to remember.
Maybe it was Michael Hutchinson who played against us. I don't remember. I want to say I don't think it was Campbell though. I think it was Hutchinson. It doesn't matter.
We'll have to pull that up. Yeah, I'm just saying that it was a guy who maybe he was. I'm thinking to himself. No, it wasn't Hutchinson. Grump. He played against San Jose, Pittsburgh.
Was it
maybe? I'll have to pull it up for you, Grump. I don't know what exactly.
It doesn't matter. I don't think we played against Campbell.
Jared Ben says, "Hey boys, it's good to see you. It's been a while. Sorry I missed you. To be honest, last time I've been a busy guy as of late."
Oh, good. Hopefully not doing anything illegal.
No, Grumpy. Busy isn't always good things. He's got good things going on, Grump.
Maybe he's plotting to rob a bank. I don't know.
Oh, stop.
Takes a while to draw up those plans.
Oh, man. Oh, man. Is it funny that Adam Fox is the point leader for the Rangers, too? I mean, the guy is fantastic. You look at the point. Let me ask you this. I'm glad I still have it pulled up. Are people still laughing me off the stage when I said next time you can offer Noah Dobson an extension if you extended him for 8 years, $7 million per? Are people still laughing me off the stage on that one, you think?
Yes.
I wonder why.
Because they think you're a fool. That's why they always laugh at you.
I don't know. I'm feeling very comfortable when I said Noah Dobson's going to at least have 10 goals this year. I'm sitting pretty on that one right now. He's sitting at 5 goals through, 26, 27 games, Grump? Or 28 games in the NHL so far this year. Yeah. 5 goals. Whew. Hey, I'm sitting comfy.
He hasn't played 28 games. He's been benched. And if you listen to some members of the cartel, that's why he's playing so well, because he was benched. No, he's playing well because he's actually been given an opportunity. And the fact that Barry had to implement, tell him to do certain things that he wasn't able to do previously with his limited minutes. So that's why you're seeing the improvement in Noah Dobson. Opportunity came, and he freaking kicked the door down. He never would have had that opportunity if we didn't have COVID. So that's a positive from the Islanders having COVID this year.
Yes, I think so too. That is one of the few positives of that. No Dobson, I'm telling you, hey, he's got 14 points through 26 games played. I'm just saying he's probably going to be your points leader as a defenseman. He's going to score your most goals out of any other defenseman, right? Ryan Pulak couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. Adam Pellick's not a guy who puts a puck in the net, nor is Scott Mayfield. I mean, Noah Dobson, I think, has said, hey, he's the guy now on the power play that you feel comfortable. Frank K also saying here, puck movement has been a lot better on the power play.
Without a doubt. That's the key. Puck movement, the speed of the puck movement, and just the fact that we have two snipers on either side. That's the difference. Guys who are not afraid to shoot the puck, and the fact that we're moving the puck very fluidly from side to side.
That being said, Grump, do you know what time it is?
It's ad time.
That it is. And today's podcast is brought to you by Draftkings. Hockey fans, Draftkings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, has a no-brainer offer that will make you a winner once any shot gets past the goalie. New customers can bet just $1 on any NHL game and win $100 in free bets if either team scores a goal. The NHL got rid of ties in 2005, so you know somebody is going to light the lamp. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, no worries. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings daily fantasy hockey contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the promo code THPN and throw down $1 on any NHL game and win $100 in free bets if either team scores a goal. That's promo code THPN this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. You must be 21 years or older in New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum of a $5 deposit and a $1 wagers required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for full details. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Yeah. So if you got a gambling problem and you're not aware of it, I guess you would not call that number. You'd have to be aware that you have a problem before you'd make that call.
Self-recognition is the first step to recovery. Matthew S. said, and of course, Kyle Palmieri is back practicing.
Well, that's okay. I want him back practicing. You don't want him where he's not practicing. If anything, you get him in shape, play a couple of games, and trade him. That's what I'd like to do.
Okay. They're not going to trade a guy they just signed this offseason. That's not happening.
You know what? It'd be smart business to do that.
Okay, they're not going to. I don't care. They're not going to trade him, Grump.
So you're trying to say that stupidity should be a reason why not to move him. Okay.
I'm just saying, why would you even suggest something like that? Because it's not in the realm of their possibility.
Because he scored 1 goal in 25 games, and he's a -11, worst on the team. To me, that doesn't merit just keeping a guy. I'd move him.
I know when Grump has just the freaking team stats pulled up next to him because he pulls everything up like he knows it by heart. And the son of a bitch just looking at the stat sheet.
I don't have it pulled up. I looked at it when you were doing the ad. I looked at it.
Okay. Gotcha. Nailed it. Want to also ask you, Grump, before we get back.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Is Kyle Palmieri part of the solution to this team's problems?
No.
Okay.
He's better than other individuals I think we have playing, right? Kyle Palmieri is a guy. Here's the thing. On a really good team, Kyle Palmieri might not like to hear this. He's a third-line winger. Just like on a really good team, Anthony Beauvillier is a third-line winger.
Actually,
I'm sorry, guys. That's just what they are. Sorry.
On a really good team, you know who he reminds me of? Zach Parise last year for the Minnesota Wild. A healthy scratch.
No.
That's what he reminds me of.
Not that bad. Stop.
He's worse. He's worse. His numbers have been brutal this year. His performance has been terrible. He signs a big contract, and he just craps the bed. Great job, Kyle F- Palmieri. I think he got hot, last year for 3 weeks in the playoffs, and he parlayed that into a multi-year, $5 million a year contract. Congrats to you, Kyle Palmieri. Good job. Now you
hot at the right time and got himself paid.
Yeah, well, that was a mistake by Lou Lamoriello. I said at the time, and now you're seeing it. Sorry.
Jer Ben says, I have a seriously important question for Grumpy. I've been meaning to ask you this for a long time. Who would win in a fist fight, a battle to the death? Josh Bailey or Piggy from Lord of the Flies?
Well,
There's a lot of thought going into this one, Grump.
yeah. Piggy was smart in Lord of the Flies, and we all know that Josh Bailey was smart.
Josh Bailey is very smart.
If you don't believe me, just listen to any Islander telecast. They'll tell you. They don't tell you he's got any skill or any talent, but they'll tell you how smart he is. Like I said, maybe if I wanted somebody to do my taxes, I'd go to Josh Bailey or Piggy. But for any type of physical performance, neither one. That said, I'm going to say Josh Bailey would probably take Piggy because he was kind of overweight. He had asthma and he was 13 years old. So I think even Josh at 33 could probably kick his ass.
Oh, there it is, Grumpy. A little tiny, a little bit.
Now, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. If Piggy was 25, guaranteed he'd kick Josh Bailey's ass. Guaranteed.
Scott L saying, with Koskinen in the doghouse in Edmonton, would you deal Varlamov to Edmonton and take whatever they're offering in return?
It depends on what they offer. I'm not saying, all right, here, we'll give you a 7th-round pick for Varlamov. No, I wouldn't do that. It would have to be absolute minimum a 2nd-rounder.
Did you hear what they said, what the head coach said there in post-game interview, Grump?
I did not.
Gotcha.
Was that against the game after the Islanders, right?
No, it was oh man, I'm trying to pull it up. Phil's Facts posted it and he said the price just increased is what he said. Let me see here. He pulled it up. I love when he tweets that stuff. Oh, Grumpy, I'm gonna have to find it. Give me
Go
a
ahead.
sec.
You can find it. I can continue to pontificate on Varlamov to Edmonton. What you'd optimally like for Varlamov, you'd like to see him play a number of games and look good. That just increases his trade value, right?
Well, he came out of the 2 games we played before this, this break. He did have a good game. I mean, so, you're talking about, production wise, we need to see better performance from him. So we've got this from Coach Tippett there. Now, this is the post game. So this is why people are alluding to him being in the doghouse and why they think Edmonton probably will be shopping for a goalie. You talk
I just
about
want to say that Enterprise is not a spokesman of ours.
Oh, I'm sorry, Grumpy. Yeah, we got to get rid of that.
So just letting you know.
Here we go.
I thought we did a lot of things well tonight. Our goaltender wasn't very good, and we didn't find enough pucks at the net to get us back in the game.
Our goaltender wasn't very good.
He's right. He was terrible against us. He was like a rebound machine.
No, this was not against us, Grumpy. Oh no, was this against us on the 3rd? No, this was against the Rangers. Buddy.
Yeah, here's the thing. He hasn't been good, period. He's like one of those slot machines, you drop in a nickel and it just spits out. Coins just flowing out. Those are rebounds from Koskinen. He's terrible. He's not the answer. He's not the answer there. I thought their backup was I thought he was splitting time, but maybe just totally unhappy with the goaltender situation. If they offered me maybe they think they're good enough to contend. I don't. But
offensively, there definitely are. Defensively and in the net, I'm not sure, right? I think he was supposed to split some time. They originally thought maybe Mike Smith, and then they got Stuart Skinner in there. But Koskinen's stats this year, a 9.0 save percentage and a 3.19 goals against average. It's woeful.
And part of that is the fact that they're all offense all the time, right? When you have one of your big defensemen is Darnell Nurse, I don't know how good you expect your
Darnell Nurse showed your ass up with a fantastic performance. Do not continue to shit on Darnell Nurse's day because he comes back and shoves it right in your face, Grump. During that live stream, you could not stop talking enough shit about Darnell. Oh, Darnell Nurse doesn't play defense. Oh, Darnell Nurse doesn't even provide offense. He scores a goal, makes at the moment, right, a save that forces the game into overtime with a freaking fantastic knee save, and he does a great job of blocking out. I can't remember who it was on a rush. He had a good game against the Islanders.
Okay. Darnell Nurse playing defense, that old saying, the sun shines on a dog's ass twice a day. And that's exactly what it is with him. He is not good defensively. And so Koskinen gets a little bit of a pass for me, not big enough to as poorly as he's played because I don't think he's very good. That said,
I'm talking about Darnell Nurse. I'm not talking about Koskinen.
well, that's why Koskinen gets a little bit of a break, because when your lead horse defenseman is Darnell Nurse, that means they're not playing any defense.
Oh, okay.
Okay. That said, if they offer me a first round, and I got to think Lou is thinking this too. If you get offered a first round pick for Varlamov, you do it, even a second. Now, I'm not willing to move him for anything less than that. I don't want to give them somebody for free. But I mean, if they're going to give you a second round pick or a first, have them.
It's got to be a first plus. It's got to be a first
No,
plus. Here's the thing. I'm sorry, go ahead.
You're not going to get a first plus for Varlamov when you could potentially trade for Marc-Andre Fleury, who just won Vezina Trophy last year. So, I mean, Chicago will offer him up if you give somebody something like that, right?
So you think, hold on, is Marc-Andre Fleury on the block?
If I'm Chicago, he's on the block. They're not going anywhere. Why not maximize that? Why not maximize that asset? That's what I'm saying. That's what good teams do. Marc-Andre Fleury is never going to be the solution in Chicago. If Edmonton thinks they're close enough where a goalie's going to put them over the top, you're going to see them trade for a goalie. Who would you rather have? Marc-Andre Fleury or Semyon Varlamov? Who would you rather have? I know who I'd rather take.
I'd rather have Sorokin. I'd rather have Varlamov.
Absolutely. No, you're kidding. Okay. But here's the thing. They'd rather have Fleury.
Hold on. I like how it was such an easy answer for you. You're just like, okay, fantastic. Anybody in their right mind would always say Marc-Andre Fleury as he just comes off the Vezina. And it almost took you like a second or two to realize that I was, just kind of messing around with you a bit.
Okay. Again, Varlamov to me is an Islander system goalie. That's who he is. Fleury is not that. I'd much rather have Fleury over Varlamov. 100%. That said, maybe they say, maybe Chicago's asking for a first and a second, where maybe we only have to trade a first or a second to the Islanders. Maybe that's what Edmonton winds up doing because the cost is too prohibitive for a Fleury. And I don't know if he's on the block, but he should be.
Here's the thing with Marc-Andre Fleury, right? He's on the last year of his deal, so you don't really get too much certainty with Marc-Andre Fleury. At least with Varlamov, if you're thinking to yourself, I think Fleury for the 1-year stint might be a better option than Varlamov, just because you're talking about the guy who just won the Vezina. He was fantastic last year for Vegas Golden Knights. But when you're talking about, hey, maybe we're talking 1-2 years, we maybe need an additional, because remember, Edmonton drafted a goalie in this year's draft. I mean, goalies take a long time to develop. You're going to need some sort of stopgap until, I think it's Kosa. I think it's who they drafted in this year's draft. I'll have to look back through it. Sebastian Kosa, my memory. They're going to look for somebody who's a little bit more of a, I feel like if they're looking for somebody might be more of a permanent option until, their guy is ready. Maybe Varlamov is the answer. If they're looking for a stopgap guy for a year or two, then Marc-Andre Fleury is the way I'd go.
Okay. Varlamov's what, 33, 34?
Marc-Andre Fleury's 36.
Okay. But do you think Varlamov's the answer long-term? Neither one of them is.
Here's the thing. Marc-Andre Fleury is a 1-2 year stopgap type of guy. Varlamov is maybe about a 3 or 4 year stopgap type of guy. So I'm just saying, right? If you're just trying to tide yourself over until I think it's Sebastian Kosa is ready, that's what you do.
Okay. Who would I rather have? Marc-Andre Fleury. You're not trading for a goalie unless you're thinking you can win the Stanley Cup this year. That's why you're making that deal. Otherwise, you wait till the offseason.
Sebastian Kosa was drafted by the Detroit Red Wings. I don't know why I got them mixed up. Did Edmonton not draft a goalie this year in the first round?
I don't know.
Oh, my God.
I don't know. I just let you roll on that stuff.
Okay. Gotcha. No,
I'm not like you. I'm not like you, TJ. I'm not going to fact check everything that you say. Like, Grumpy Old Man, you said that was 6/7. It was actually 5.5/7. So, you were wrong. I don't do that with you.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Grumpy. Oh my God, I'm looking at this team. Yeah, they don't have an answer in that. And you're looking at the guy, Stuart Skinner, right? He's relatively young. You got a few games for him this year. I mean, Stuart Skinner's 23, right? This year, up in the NHL, 9.16 save percentage, 2.7 goals against average. Not fantastic. They don't have anybody they've drafted as of recent that could be the answer for them in that. So Edmonton does not have an answer in that. If you're saying I just want a guy for a stopgap, maybe a 2 years until we find a more permanent solution, we think we can acquire one via trade in the offseason or some sort of free agency, then yeah, sure, go Marc-Andre Fleury. I'm going to tell you, if they're interested in goalies, if Varlamov was available and if Marc-Andre Fleury is available, if we're looking 1 year, I'd go Marc-Andre Fleury.
Thank you for coming around to my way of thinking.
We've gotten way off of this, though. Let's go back to the clip that we brought up eons ago.
Okay.
There's been talk of starts for this team. They get a power play early in the first period. They don't score on it, but they score about 5 minutes into the game. Then
what do you want? It's a brutal mistake. It's a brutal mistake. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Right? Call it what it is. We're playing well. It's a brutal mistake. Call it what it is.
The season frustrations happen through the course of the seasons. Teams go into slumps and whatnot. This is extended now for about a month. How do you think the guys are handling it?
I think there's a lot of adversity here. We're learning a lot about our team. Gone through a lot of injury issues and COVID issues, and we haven't played as well as we'd like to as a group. So there's lots to improve on.
And one more thing, you had mentioned it earlier. When you have the top-ranked power play coming in, if you're an opposing coach, you're saying don't give them power plays. You guys had 2 tonight, you had none the other. Are you doing enough to generate them at all?
Trying to, but obviously not.
Dave, that Gorgiev save, was that kind of a late with Connor? I mean, you got your captain, he makes a great shot. That might have been a possible goal that could have turned things.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking for a spark like that for sure. But
speaking of sparks, the McLeod line, what did you think of them?
Yeah, they were good. McLeod was really good. Skated well tonight. Benson got his first point, which was.
I think we about caught it. He was a woeful. He did not play well, and Phil's fact.
He looks pissed. Dave Tippett is pissed.
He said now the ask for Varlamov is 2 first-round picks. Oh, Phil. But yeah, Grump, I'll tell you. So the answer for Edmonton is they don't have a goalie in the system. I forgot. I thought they had picked up Sebastian Cossa, and they did not. They don't have any goaltending option here going forward and for the future that they could look, as a bright spot for their team. So maybe that's why they look a guy like a Varlamov. They say, okay, Varlamov could be here for 4 or 5 years. He's only 33 years old. He can play till he's 37, 38.
Well, Peter Cirelli's not running that team anymore, so I don't think that's the case. I mean, if anyone thinks that Varlamov is the answer in net, make me an offer. He's not the answer in net. He lets in a weekie every single game, and he's solid. I don't dislike Varlamov. He's a solid goalie. I don't mind him as a backup. $5 million a year is too much for a backup. That's the way I look at it.
He would be the starter. He'd be the main guy in Edmonton. Wherever he's going, he'd be the guy.
I'm talking about here. $5 million a year is too much for a backup anywhere. And that's what he is here. He's the backup. He's not the starter. So, for me, I'm listening to any offer from him. You'd like to get through the season with him. But if somebody offers you a first-round pick, bye-bye. I mean, I don't see how you could ever say no to that. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's the last pick in the draft or, number 30 or 28 or 25. That's a move you make every day, every single day.
SP saying, "What's up, guys? What's up, SP?"
I'll bet you. I love the old fisherman logo. I know a lot of people don't. I love it, and I'll bet you SP is 500 years old.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Michael M saying, "Grump, I'm wearing your face on my shirt during work."
I bet you got a lot of compliments on that shirt, Michael.
I'm sure he did. Rich A saying here, "Welcome to the Islanders Never on Time podcast."
Oh shit. TJ.
I like it.
And we haven't seen Rich in a while. Rich, welcome back. We've missed you. And Rich is looking mighty sharp. That's an old picture, but miss you, Rich. Glad you're back.
Grumpy old man. Look at grumpy old man. Keeping together, pretending like he's awake sometimes. Jerben. Oh no, okay, gotcha. He needed an in-depth description. I think you gave it to him pretty good.
Yeah, I gave it pretty in-depth.
TJ is not very cultured, so I couldn't you have to apparently explain who Piggy is. I read Lord of the Flies. It was one of those mandatory reading books in your formative years.
And that's why I had to explain it to TJ, as I did on the podcast. Even though he read it, he didn't comprehend much. I bet you didn't get very good reading comprehensions grades at school, did you?
Well, you've heard me pronounce the names of people on this podcast, Grump.
I
Yeah,
know. So that's no. Thank you.
really. Okay, fair enough. Okay. Okay, Grump. Michael M saying, love how passionate you guys are all season long, even on downtime. Appreciate that, Michael. Hey, man, somebody's got to still carry the torch. Someone's got to talk Islanders hockey and be excited about Islanders hockey year round. We'll be
and have fun. And we have fun doing it. Honestly, we do.
SP says, Lane Lambert is openly complimenting the young guys. What a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, amazing. And you know what? What do you think that does for the confidence of the younger players when they know they're not going to get benched if they miss a body check or they don't clear the puck exactly where Barry Trotz wanted it cleared? They sit on the bench. It has to be just revelation for them where they know they have a little bit of rope. Don't you think, TJ?
I'd say so. Again, like you talk about, it's definitely not the, hey, after Barry Trotz benched Noah Dobson, he finally got production. No. I think it has a lot more to do with confidence of a young player. Being an ex-player, a lot of it has to do with confidence. When a guy is extremely talented and coaches know and they see that and they rave about the talent they see, and you're not seeing it necessarily on the ice, a lot of times it has to do with a confidence thing out here. And as soon as they have that light switch moment and it flips for them, that's when you see things start to turn around. When he had no other option, when we had so many guys out with injury, when we've had, hey, top 4 minutes are up for grabs, Noah Dobson, here you go. He saw a guy newer to the organization or newer to the Islanders there, and Robin Salo getting more minutes than him for 3 or 4 nights. And he's like, holy crap, man. You kind of start to see different. You start to see a little differently. Okay, they bring up this guy, Robin Salo. Where am I standing? Where am I in this pecking order? And they say, here you go. Here's some top 4 minutes. Noah Dobson, he took them and ran with them. Had nothing to do with him being benched. It's him being given the opportunity and feeling like even if he were to make a mistake, just to play through it.
Yeah, but he was playing better than Salo, even though he wasn't getting the minutes. It wasn't even close.
I agree
with all the injuries, and the COVID, Barry Trotz was forced to play him. And you know what? I almost think he said, you know what? I'm just going to take the bull by the horns. I'm going to start rushing the puck up, driving the net, shooting, and everything that he did in juniors. Barry, I firmly believe, would not let him do that when all the vets are in the lineup. Just wouldn't let him do it.
I want to bring up something. Matthew Von Salen, he sent me a message, and thanks, Matthew, for this. He said, and again, I know I have a lot of messages I'm responding to. Sorry, guys, it was around the holidays. I will get back to you by the end of the day today. But Matthew said, the Spitting Chicklets episode 367, TJ Oshie was talking about how in Hitchcock's defensive system in St. Louis, he felt like it killed his game and it thwarted his offense. It thwarted his offensive creativity. And, we talk about this and opine about this all the time. Playing that defensive system, do forwards and do offensive-minded players really want to come here and subjugate their game to play defense. It's not something that TJ Oshie so much enjoyed, and it's not something that a lot of players enjoy saying, oh, okay, let me change and play more of this defensive-minded system instead of doing what I've always been doing is scoring goals and providing a little bit of defense, right? Now I've got to say, I got to subjugate my goal scoring a whole bunch to play a lot of defense. It's not fun for a lot of forwards. A lot of times they don't want to do that. If the money is equal penny for penny somewhere else, they're going to take a chance where I can get, I could be famous, right? I can get a whole bunch of these endorsements. I can get a whole bunch of, people wanting to sponsor me because instead of me scoring 35 goals a year, instead I'm scoring 50 goals.
Okay. For me, offensive players want to go somewhere where their skill set flourishes. And whoever pays the most money is probably where they're going to go. But if the money is equal or close to it, here's the thing. You got to remember the taxes will just eat you alive in New York. So a Florida team has a distinct advantage where maybe the AAV is a little bit less, but they have no state income tax. So you could take less money to go to Florida and even make out better than, let's say, in New York. But that said, if you're looking at a guy whose game is predicated on scoring, every player wants to be the best they can be. And if you're a goal scorer, why do you want to play a team? And let's say you're not great defensively, right? Why would you go to a team where all they do is want you to play defense? You're not going to look as good. You're going to be unhappy knowing what your skill set is. And to me, I just don't understand why any player would want to put himself through that. It
Here's
just
the
makes
thing,
no
it's all
sense to
about
me.
it's all about having some sort of equity on that side, right? You have to have some sort of common ground. It can't be all defense all the way like we have been for many years. We have to say, right, Noah Dobson. I mean, you use him as an example. Okay, Noah Dobson. Okay, Oliver Wahlstrom. Okay, Kiefer Bellows. We know you're going to make mistakes on the defensive side of the puck. We know you're going to make bad turnovers in the neutral zone, man. But I want you to do what we saw and what you did in juniors, what you did here in the A, what you did, in the A that's made us say, hey, you're a guy that we want up here in the NHL roster. Go ahead and show us you have the scoring touch. Go ahead and show us that you can help provide offense. We know we're going to give up a few more goals, but hey, we feel like Sorokin can go ahead and save more of those goals than you're going to provide, right? You're going to be able to provide more goals and opportunities to score than Sorokin's going to let in on the other side. And that's what we want. We want to be able to have more offensive chances and to score more goals. Our plus minus would increase that way too. Eddie, though, is saying, I wonder if Barry Trotz goes right back to the veteran squad when he returns.
The cynic in me says, yes, he does, because that's just what he does. I just want to piggyback on your idea. The fact that Kiefer Bellows has finally been put in a top 6 role, which is where his skill set dictates he should be, is why he's producing. If you want him to be on a checking line, he's not the player for your team. But if you're not afraid to roll the dice with a young guy who's shown the ability to score by putting him with like-minded players, that's on the coaching staff. And I've said it before, the best coaches are the ones who they tweak their system to fit the player's skill sets. That's not something Barry Trotz has traditionally done. I hope that he does, because I think Barry Trotz is a really, really good coach.
With the way Anthony Beauvillier has been playing, would you have any issue with them saying, hey, Kiefer Bellows, here's the second line left wing spot. We've seen what you've done on the power play. We've seen what you've done in top 6 minutes. Run with it. Would you have any issue at all with them doing that and say, hey, Anthony, you're falling out of favor. I know we signed you this extension, man, but we have to start seeing some production. Would you have any issue with that? I wouldn't have any issue with it, just like I wouldn't have any issue if they did the same exact thing to Josh Bailey or to Kyle Palmieri. No issue at all.
To me, my first line,
in favor of Oliver Wahlstrom, by the way.
My first line is Barzell, Wahlstrom, and Bellows. That's my first line. That's what I want as my first line. You want to know why? I don't care what you think. I don't care what Barry Trotz thinks. I want my first line to be something that has a legitimate chance to score every time they're on the ice. That's what I want. That's what the first line is. You could take your Anders Lees, dump him on the second line with Kroc and whoever you want to put on the right wing. Probably Palmieri, right? Or Bailey. They've always played well together. Bailey sucks. We know that. But Nelson, and Lee have always had chemistry. Always have. So don't roll your fingers, okay?
So get to the point, Grumpy. Get to the point. Stop opining on the same thing over opino. I want you to get to the point, man.
That's my point. Play the young guys together on the first line. I'm not talking about moving moving Bellows up to the second line. I want him on the first line.
Here's the thing. I'm fine with him playing top 6 minutes. Would I like to see him with Matt Barzal? Sure, right? I'd be lying, right? He had 3 goals in a 4-game stretch with Matt Barzal last year. We've seen the production he's had over the last few games when he's been playing a top 6 role and been playing power play minutes. I think he's played well. Anthony Beauvillier has not played well. Anders Lee, even though he's got goals and he's produced on a stat sheet, a lot of his goals, again, you talk about him, you call him endearingly, he's the garbage man, right? He cleans up the garbage around the net and scores goals. It's not necessarily a talented goal, but it's a goal nonetheless, right? At least he's putting in those goals. Anthony Beauvillier just isn't doing it for me. Here's maybe something you might disagree with. I'd rather have Kyle Palmieri than Josh Bailey in the lineup. Josh Bailey's been woeful. I know Palmieri hasn't been great. Bailey's been bad. I want to see Oliver Wahlstrom back in the lineup, right? He was maybe still feeling a little bit of the effects of the sickness. He should be back in the lineup here, first game back. No doubt about it, next Thursday against the Devils. For
me, when Nelson comes back, I think you should sit Bailey and Palmieri. That's why I think play Jarnac and put him on the third line with Pajot. And I play Ross Johnson over Matt Martin. That's what I would do. I put Zach Parise on the fourth line to center because Casey Zeke has been miserable this year too. That's what I would do.
Matthew S. there saying 54 games in 107 days starting on January the 13th. A lot of games in a short time frame.
That's not good news for us.
No. And then Eddie saying, I'm betting 7 wins in the next 10 if we keep riding the hot hands. I mean, that's a minimum. We need 7 wins in the next 10.
Yeah, we're not making the playoffs. When I looked at that April schedule, we're not making playoffs.
Tony G said, Rich A just won the podcast renaming contest.
Oh, man, Tony is coming at you hard, TJ.
That's fine. Christopher C said, I'm hoping they cancel the Capitals game or postpone it. I don't want to see Ovechkin and Kuznetsov scoring against us in our new home.
The thing is, unfortunately, we're going to have to play these teams at some point in time. Can't keep pushing that. Can't keep pushing off the good teams at the end.
Brandon Fry saying, what's up, guys? What's up, Brandon?
Long time since we've seen Brandon. Long time since we've seen Brandon.
Absolutely. Absolutely good to see you back, Brandon. James F saying, need a winning streak. Come on. Angela N saying, Boston, Detroit, and Pittsburgh.
Now, is that a dog or is that a I think that's a dog. For a second, I thought it was a polar bear, but no, it's a dog.
Jeff E saying it's very sad that we're hoping just to get the last wild card spot, and that might be out of reach if we go on any type of losing streak. Damn, and that's the point, right? That's where I think it is. Where we're sitting here thinking the same thing, Jeff. We're like, yeah, we're kind of in a situation. How can we salvage it? What other way possible? If you look at it, at the beginning of the season, you said, hey, you guys are going to be fighting for the last wild card spot. You'd be like, holy crap, what an unsuccessful year in the regular season. But we're in the spot now. And I don't like everybody just drawing this up of, oh, well, it's a COVID shortened season. This one's a throwaway. No, I'm sorry. That is the biggest, sorriest that you know what it's like? It's like a guy who goes out there and plays like you're playing like a round robin, you're playing like kickball, you're playing like Foursquare. It's the guy who gets knocked out the first time they step in Foursquare and they go, I don't like this game anyway. No, man. I'm sorry. You can't just go ahead and say after you get your ass thoroughly thwomped and you have a hideous year compared to what your expectations were is, oh, this is a write-off year. Your team is towards, a lot of your team is, towards, the upper or the mid 30s. They're not going to get any better. So your window is finite unless you make some restructuring.
Here's the thing. Every team in the NHL has gone through the same thing. Every single team has gone through the same thing. It's not just the Islanders. It's every team in the NHL. Teams are still going through it. I mean, it is what it is. It's not like the Islanders are playing by a different set of rules or a different set of circumstances from everybody else. They're not. We just have not played well this year.
Jeff E. here saying, grumpy old man, what goal scorers in history have been great goal scorers? Bossy a great skater. Was Bossy a great skater?
No, he was not a great skater. Was not a great skater.
Maybe he's meant to say what goal scorers in history have been good skaters. I mean, was Bossy a good skater? No. And he's talking about Kiefer Bellows, I'm sure. Jeff S. saying here, I'd like to see Bellows being given a chance in overtime games.
Okay.
It's the same reason I don't like seeing Anders Lee on the ice or Josh Bailey. Both of those guys can't skate. And as woeful as Bevillier's been and underwhelming as Bevillier's been this year, I'd rather have Bevillier on the ice just because he could skate.
Yes, you have to be able to skate in overtime 3-on-3. Have to. That's why as much as I'm a proponent of Kiefer Bellows, not in overtime. I don't even like Nelson out there in overtime. Certainly not Bailey, and he gets a regular shift in OT.
Look how many minutes, and just to kind of give you a gauge of where things are around the league, look how many minutes of overtime or percentage of ice time and overtime that Connor McDavid had for Edmonton, right? Best skater, one of the best skaters in the league, one of the best players in the league, the best player in the league, played the lion's share of overtime. In overtime, what did he play? Like 75, 80% of the time on ice. Matt Barzal doesn't play that long. And again, Matt Barzal is a fantastic skater, the best player on our team. Matt Barzal needs to be more heavily relied upon in overtime. That's for certain.
Without a doubt. Best players should play of the majority minutes. He should get at least 3 minutes in a 5-minute overtime.
And then James F. saying, grumpy with the positive. Nice. Be
always,
positive a little bit
always
today.
Positive here from the grumpy old man.
Oh, man. I tell you. 12 points. Rich A said 12 points out of this homestand just screws our draft position.
True.
That's true. Right. If you only get 12 points, you're saying, hey, we now have effectively moved ourselves out of any playoff contention, but we're still winning enough games that we're going to be kind of drafting around 13, 14, or 15.
That always drove me crazy when
You win a whole bunch of games right at the end of the season.
the Islanders were really good at that. They'd be in line for like a top 2 pick, and then they'd win like 5 of the last 6 games and pick 5th, 7th. 7th was the worst. I think that's when we dropped it Bailey. So, whenever, but always like 5th, 6th, or 7th. And most of these drafts are not that deep. This one's pretty deep, but you don't want to be picking, 13 or 14. You want to be picking top 5 at minimum if you're not going to make playoffs.
Josh Bailey was the 9th overall, grumpy old man.
Ugh,
It was
that was
close.
still about 48 picks, way too high.
Frank Hay said, "Ever notice the power play is good when they're out of a playoff spot and absolute crap when they're in a playoff spot?" I don't think it necessarily has, it directly correlates to that. But I mean, you could say, right? When we've lost it, we lost a whole bunch of games, then we went ahead and picked up the power play. But I think it has more to do with the personnel and how quick the puck movement is, just as you mentioned, Frank, and you, Grumpy.
It's always personnel. Personnel is the most important thing on a power play. All we've done was taken Josh Bailey off and put in Wallstrom, and taken Palmieri off and put in Wallstrom and Bellows. And look at how much better it is. Look at how more cohesive the unit looks.
Patrick H saying, "What's up, all? What's up, Pat? How you doing?" Alexander saying here, "Hey guys, good evening. I've been a lot to talk about. Varlamov going to Edmonton. Any chance it happens?" We were talking about it earlier. I think maybe it's maybe Marc-Andre Fleury is the better fit if they're looking for short-term answer. I think Varlamov, if you're looking for more of a guy who can be the goalie for maybe 4 or 5 years, probably towards year 4 or 5, you're running him on a rotation. I think Varlamov's your better answer. Varlamov is younger. He does have another year of cap certainty, so that would help. But I mean, Marc-Andre Fleury is towards the tail end, man. He's towards the tail end. What do? If you're Edmonton, do you go ahead and trade for Marc-Andre Fleury? Then what, you're left in a situation, do you re-sign the 38-year-old goaltender Marc-Andre Fleury? Or then do you try to make a trade for Simon Varlamov in the offseason? You know what I mean?
For me, if you're making a trade in season, you're thinking you can win the Stanley Cup. And who's the better goalie right now? I mean, that's my thought process. If I think that we're a goalie short from winning a Stanley Cup, I'm going after Fleury, not Varlamov.
Well, would it be a bad suggestion to say we're going to go for not only the goalie who is good, we're also going to go for a goalie that's got term as well and is a little bit younger, so we have more years that we have him potentially here.
What's he got? Varlamov got 1 more year left.
He's got 1 more year cap certainty.
To me, it's inconsequential. You can sign Varlamov. You can sign Fleury back if you want. You go after somebody else in the offseason. If you think that you can win a Stanley Cup and you're a goalie short this year, I don't think they are. But if the Edmonton thinks that that's all they need is a goaltender, you get the best goaltender available. You don't try to go some bargain basement looking for next year. You're making a deal mid-season for a goalie. You should be looking for the best guy out there.
Can you straighten your shirt out and like flatten it out, Grumpy? Because it when it rolls over that little tiny ridge you got there, just here.
Just a pain in my ass, I swear.
I am a pain in the ass. I'm sorry. I like the audio to be good. What can I say, Grump? What a film saying. I think the Islanders are in a position where they have to play Bellows and Dobson. They've proven themselves, and the fans will be pissed if they don't.
They don't care about the fans. Don't think that the coaching staff cares about what the fans think. They don't. Here's the thing, for better or worse, they put out the players they think give them the best chance to win. Even when they're wrong, there's a reason why they do it. They don't say, you know what, as much as I say they do. They don't go, you know what, Noah Dobson, I don't care that the grumpy old man thinks that you're better and actually you look better. I think the other guy's better. I trust him more than you. They don't, that's not even comes into it. It does come into trust. Because Barry's system is all about who's going to make the least amount of mistakes out there. He doesn't think about the upside of a player. He thinks about what's the downside. And that's the way it is with a team that's not super talented and is loaded with veterans. You look at you want to limit your downside.
Got a comment here from Anthony R saying, we aren't making the playoffs. Let's be real about it. Let's try to enjoy the kids play. And the right thing to do. A great line in Bad News Bears movie. Let the kids play. Let the kids play.
Let the kids play. Yeah.
Alexander
Great movie.
Palmieri's been a major disappointment this year. For certain he is.
Not me. I think that's exactly what he is.
Dave F saying Phil's facts is crazy. He got mad at me because I said Brock Nelson's overrated. No, Phil's facts does not get mad. Here's the thing: you don't mess with Phil's facts on social media. That's one of those things. I don't even bother message. I don't bother. Hey, anytime Phil's facts is posted something, I kind of just stay away from it, man. That guy is. I tell you, he's on the Twitter sphere. He's not a guy you want to mess around with. That's all I'm saying. You better come there prepared with whatever point you're going to make, and you better look for any type of. I mean, Phil does his research. Phil's facts, Grump.
Phil. As everyone knows, I do not have a social media presence.
What?
I do not have a social media presence. There's too many. Honestly, I don't think I could. Too much intelligence would be flying out of my fingers all the time. I think the people couldn't handle it, honestly. And you want to know one of those people would be Phil's facts, without a doubt. Brock Nelson is overrated. He is overrated. He's okay. And he's benefited from the Barry Trotz season. But here's the thing. In a big game, I don't think he's a difference maker. I don't.
Hold on. He performed against Tampa. He was one of the few guys that performed against Tampa last year in the Stanley Cup.
He wasn't great against Tampa last year.
You're going to make me pull you up over here. You're going to make
Go ahead. Why don't you do a Phil fact special? Because TJ is just like Phil's facts. They'll whip up some obscure fact that's like totally devoid of, frame of reference. And they'll say, oh, well, that's why he's great. I always said that that Brock Nelson has benefited playing for Barry Trotz. I still don't think he's a great player. And here's the thing. TJ's always loved Brock Nelson. Always. So he'll look for some way to validate his point, even though that's not necessarily the case.
And in the 7 games that we played in the playoff series against in the Eastern Conference Finals, he did have a goal and assist. Maybe my recollection.
2 points in 7 games from your number 2 center. That's good enough for you. Okay. What were Matt Barzell's numbers during that series? Do you know?
I could pull those for you.
Yeah. Why don't you do that? What were Noah Dobson's numbers? I bet they were just as good as Crocarino's. Just pull them up. But see, that's the thing. You wanted to get
here's the thing, though. Brock Nelson is he is a good second line center, man. Come on. I don't even know how the hell you're trying to argue that.
Okay. I'm just saying we, as Islander fans, overrate him. I don't think he's top 15 second line centers in the league. I don't.
What?
Yeah, there you go. See, you're overrating him. He's okay. He's a guy who I call him like a Mike Evans of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers type. When the game is over, man, he'll stuff that stat sheet. And that's what Brock Nelson does. You see his production? 4 goals in 1 game against Montreal. 2 goals in a game we got rolled against somebody else. That's over half of his goals in 2 games. I'm not saying he's poor. And I think his defensive play, while improved over 4 or 5 years ago, has taken a step back the last 2 years. That's all I'm going to say about him. And he's in his 30s now, too. So he's not getting any better either. If somebody offered me a first-round pick for Brock Nelson, bye, Brocky boy.
Oh, shit, I'd keep. Stop, bro. You keep Brock Nelson. Brock Nelson's worth a lot more than a first-round pick. We gave up a first-round pick for Kyle Palmieri.
Okay,
Hold on. Think about it. Think about this right freaking now. A first-round pick? What the grump? Guys at the trade deadline who have no freaking term on their contract get traded for a first plus, let alone a guy like Brock Nelson who's a bona fide second-line center who adds depth to a team and has term still on the contract. He's got to be a first and much plus. A lot more, grump.
Okay, here's the thing. We don't have Peter Cirelli. Other teams don't have Peter Cirelli in their front office like we have with Lou Lamoriello, who overpays for everybody. He gave up a first and a second round pick for a guy with an expiring contract for a third line center. That's what he did. And they were massive overpays at the time.
Guess what? People always overpay at the trade deadline. Always happens. We're not trading away Brock Nelson, nor should we. Stop. Get off of this freaking nonsense.
Oh, my God.
Matt Barzal, to answer your question, 7 games against the Tampa Bay Lightning, 3 goals, 2 assists.
There you go.
Moving on now. Hey, he's the best player of the team. What a film saying, I disagree with you about being out of the playoffs. This team has been battling for a playoff spot for years. Full season, we're going to make the playoffs. And he also says players like Anders Lee and Chara have a better than average qualities. Whoa, Grunt, that's a little stabby. You better than average qualities in a dressing room or dress room when things get tough.
You don't need a whole team of players like that. Just a couple. It seems like we're loaded with character guys. I'd rather be loaded with guys who can actually play.
Druel there saying, hello, guys. What's up, Druel? Tony Cheese saying, TJ, you actually made me laugh out loud after you get your rocks and minerals from Marie. Kudos, TJ. Crump, did you like that little reference? I threw a little Breaking Bad reference at you, man.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Look at that. It was cute. Yeah, look at you.
Alexander saying, the problem with Gallant has always been the defense. They don't look their defense is good. Their defense doesn't look as great.
100% agree. I think Gallant reminds me of Marty Schottenheimer when he was coaching in the NFL, a guy who could get you right to the precipice, but couldn't put you over the top.
I'd say before Andy Reid won his Super Bowl with the Chiefs, you remind me of Andy Reid a lot. I mean, Andy Reid, if Andy Reid didn't have a Hall of Fame quarterback and probably a Hall of Fame tight end and a Hall of Fame wide receiver like he's got right now with the Chiefs, probably wasn't winning that Super Bowl. But I mean, like,
or if he didn't have Jimmy Garoppolo on the other side of the equation, who just absolutely pooped the bed.
Why do you say? I hate when you say poop the bed. I'd rather you say shit the bed. I hate
because I don't like to. I'm not a filthy animal like you who thinks cursing is the way to go. That's the way all you younger generation people are. You don't want to, let's use curse words all the time. Fuck you, TJ. How about you like that? You like that? Make you feel good now, big man now.
What movie is that from? I feel like that's from Make You Feel Good Now, big man.
Big man now. I think that's what my mother used to say.
Wow. Joel said, TJ, let's be real here. The Leafs will find a way to choke come playoff time. Yeah, they do choke consistently, and it wouldn't shock me at all if they choked again in the playoffs.
The only caveat I'll say to that is that the team concept has bought more into coming back and being a little bit more defensively responsible from the forward group. That's the one caveat. I don't think they're good enough either, particularly defensively. But if you have team buy-in on defensive end, it can take you a long way.
For certain it is. James F. said, are we buyers or sellers this year?
Sell. Sell all the way.
Let me ask you this. If we win, we come away with 16 points out of our next 20. Does that change your opinion?
No.
What? Really?
No way. Nope. Let's say Boston goes on a 10-game winning streak. Then all that's for nothing. They will have a 10-point lead on us. Same amount of games.
All I'm saying here is this. If you go on a 10-game, if you get 16 points out of your next 10 games, that through 38 games played, you'd have 42 points. I'm not saying it's a fantastic total. I'm just saying you're kind of clawing your way back into the picture. That's all it is.
You have to depend on a lot of other things outside of your control happening to make the playoffs. That's all I'm saying. Think about how long ago we said the Islanders need to pass 6 clubs to get into that final playoff spot. What is it, about a month and a half, 2 months we said that? Guess what? They've passed one team in 2 months. That's all I'm saying. It's not just points, it's teams. You have to expect every other team to fall on their faces for us to pass them.
Or get 98 points. 98 points is a magic number. I'm sorry. 98 points. Wild card spot is a gamble, 94, but 98 points, you're in the playoff spot. Drew L said Dobson kicked the door down James Bond style.
Okay. He definitely just, I'll be interested to see when Barry comes back and everyone's healthy, what he goes back to. That's my concern. Does he shelter his minutes again? Does he put him with Andy Green? Does he play Mayfield with Chara? Or does he, I don't know what he's going to do because Pulak's going to be back by then. And then what does he do with Noah Dobson? That's a big precursor to the rest of the season.
Alexander said Andrew Ladd was on that team too, about the Carolina Hurricanes back.
He was good for them too. He was a proven playoff performer.
Oh, for sure.
He just didn't do it here. But he was good. He was really good at Winnipeg. He was good at Chicago. He won a cup with Chicago. Andrew Ladd was a good player back in the day. People forget that because of his stint here, but he was really good.
He was a solid player. Let's say he was solid. He was a good second liner.
You know what? He was Anders Lee, but better. He was a better overall player.
Okay, I go with that. Not a better goal scorer. Anders Lee he stands in front of the net better than the rest of them. Not saying it's something to be really, putting a feather in your cap for, but he stands in front of the net better than the rest of them.
Yeah, but Andrew Ladd's overall game was vastly superior to Anders Lee in every other facet. You could look up his numbers. His numbers weren't that far off of Anders Lee's. I mean, I'm just saying. Lee does one thing good. He stands in front of the net. Well, Andrew Ladd played on penalty kill, played on power play. In the last minute, he was out there. He was a blood and guts guy. He was a captain. Andrew Ladd was good in his day. He just didn't show any of it here.
SP says here, Noah Dobson is elite.
Not yet, but he's on his way.
I was about to say, anybody who felt like, oh, Noah Dobson, he's not going to be elite. Maybe he'll be a top 4 guy for lucky. I mean, the performance that you've seen when he's been given a little bit of rope to run with should say, okay, everything screams top pairing defenseman with this guy. Everything you see out of him. You talk about reason for optimism. That's one. Drew L said Gustafson over Koskinen.
No, Gustafson really sucked. He was the guy for Chicago, wasn't he? Ugh, he was hideous too.
And we all knew that Koskinen was garbage.
Yeah.
Says Matthew S.
True.
Felice Edmonton for 2 far back. He also says SP said TJ Darnell Nurse does not deserve $9.5 million. He's a decent defenseman. I don't think he deserves that much. Grump was trashing all of him. I think he's overpaid, but you also said he was overrated. He
is overrated. He is overrated.
Maybe I don't value him that much, so I think he's a guy who's, he's a good defenseman, right? On a good team, he's, probably second pairing. I mean, he puts up points, but I'm just saying,
He puts the points in that run and gun offense. He plays on the first power play unit with Draisaitl and McDavid. I mean, he's going to get points just by playing on that unit. He's. I'm not saying he's terrible. He's okay. I mean, that's a wild overpayment. And when he's your best defenseman, your team doesn't have any defense. That's all I'm saying.
Jared Ben says, I'm hoping Grumpy would have sent Piggy instead of Josh Bailey.
I did. Not at 13 years old, but, maybe 18, he'd kick his ass, but not at 13. I think even Josh Bailey could beat up a 13-year-old, even though I hear his son kicked his ass last week.
Oh, stop, Drill said. By the way, I didn't know if you know that the Oilers game stream became your second most viewed video. It gained you like 30 subs. Now I got to look into the numbers. I haven't looked into it. Thanks for giving me a heads up there, Drill. I'll have to take a closer look of the analytics. And then Would a Film said I would take Varlamov. I mean, you look at it, Marc-Andre Fleury's 37, Varlamov's 33. What's going on, Grump?
I don't know. Hey, what's going on, Woulda? Love you, baby. I don't know if it's because of that. I don't know.
And then Drew L said, bro, no, why did Steph have to get hurt? His first game. I watched the Warriors all this year. Oh, man. Matthew S. saying here as well, Tippett is gone if they bow out of the first round, let alone miss the playoffs altogether. Yeah, for certain. I mean, with that type of team, if you don't make the playoffs, you're gone.
They will make the playoffs. I just don't think Tippett's a very good coach. I just don't. They could use a little Sutter injection there.
SP said, if somebody offers a first-round pick for any of our players, excluding our core guys, Lou should take it immediately.
Then you have, what's the core? To me, my core, Barzell, Wallstrom, Bellows is part of the core.
Hold on.
No, if somebody
Bellows is part of the core after how many games for you?
If somebody offered me a first-round pick for Bellows, I'd take it. But that's not the case. But, I mean, Dobson and Pelech.
I'd give Pulak, Pelech, Sorokin, Dobson. Those guys are on the back end. They're all pieces I'm not planning on moving now. I'm not planning on moving anytime soon. I mean, Scott Mayfield could definitely be had at the right price. And if you wanted to be else, they're not going to give up picks for a guy like Salo. I mean, we probably would keep a guy like that. On the forward group, really, it's Matt Barzal. It's Oliver Wahlstrom. I'd like to keep Brock Nelson. I know you disagree with me on that. I would like to keep Brock Nelson. Everybody else is up for grabs, though, in my opinion.
Anybody who's 30 years old, you can have him for a first-round pick. I will say, what about if somebody offered your first-round pick for Salo? Would you take it? The answer is yes.
For Robin Salo, for certain, yes.
Okay. Don't worry. I'll have to answer for you.
Give me a sec. Damn, Grump. I'm reading other comments. I'm trying to sort through everything. If you just sit there and ask questions, sit there in your nice little couch over there, Grump. Alexander saying here, well, at least I can count on you guys and the Islanders to give me some good entertainment. That's for certain. We're not going anywhere. It doesn't matter what the season holds, whether we go off on a huge winning streak or a huge losing streak. We'll always be here. We're not going anywhere.
True.
Jared Ben said, when Grumpy said Josh Bailey was a Hufflepuff last podcast, I laughed my ass off and then got confused. The fact that Grumpy knows more about Harry Potter than TJ. It's funny. We had, I don't know, you want to know what we did for New Year's, Grump? There's no Islanders hockey. We watched some football, of course, but maybe on New Year's Day. Maybe it was New Year's Day towards the evening. We watched some show on, it was on HBO Max. It was something like they did like Harry Potter trivia. And I was like, oh my God. And my wife and the sister-in-law were in town watching this show. And I was just like, oh, you want to talk about, hard to watch. You just think to yourself, I'm like, you just smile and say, oh yeah. Well, I love it. I love it. I could not name a single thing that was going on. I did not even know Ravenclaw was one of the team names or one of the group names. I knew Hufflepuff. I knew Gryffindor. I knew Slytherin. I did not know Ravenclaw was one until I watched the show.
It's embarrassing. I mean, didn't those movies come out like during your formative years?
Formative years. Yeah.
Are you trying to say your parents didn't take you to see those movies?
No, here's the thing. I didn't go. I went to like the first three, and then I stopped and I went to the last one. I was like, I'm very confused. Go figure. If you miss about like 4 or 5 movies and try to pick it up where, in an in-depth series like that, you're not going to know what's going on. So I had to rewatch them all from scratch.
Why didn't you go to those other 4 movies? You think you were too cool for school?
Just never was a big Harry Potter guy. It's an okay show, but I just never was a big Harry Potter guy.
Wasn't a show. They were a series of movies. They were not a show.
Jesus Christ. Jared Ben saying, who was worse, the F- Palmieri or Josh Bailey? I figure it's got to be Palmieri, right?
Palmieri's worse because that's new money. Where
Bailey has performed for us. I mean, albeit never been a guy who put up a lot of goals. Shit, the guy did have a 60-point season.
Oh,
I mean, does Kyle Palmieri look like he's going to put up 60 points ever in his Islander career?
I don't know. Over 4 years, over 4 or 5 years, 4.5 years.
Not in 1 year, though, right?
No.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Here's the thing. Bailey, when he signed that deal, was 28 years old. Palmieri signs it when he's 30. It's just worse.
Mr. freaking B is an absolute legend. He changed his name on Facebook to be Mr. B. I love it, Mr. B. There's no doubt in my mind Barzal will return to Seattle if this ship doesn't get squared away soon. No chance he negotiates a bridge deal in advance. Full adoption in the Islanders never say die nickname. Matty and the Jags.
I don't like the fact that your incompetence in pronouncing his name has forced him to be named Mr. B.
On Facebook. If anybody's looking for Mr. B, they're like searching like, I want to run across an old high school pal of mine or an old college friend or an old work colleague. Let me go look up Mr. B here. Oh, wait a second. I can't find him anywhere. It's not unless they search the obscure name of Mr. B would they find Mr. B.
I just like how the Y is in there in Mr.
I do too.
Mr. B.
Absolutely. Ooh, Jeremy, the Zizekas contract was worse than both. I'll say after what we've seen, right? That's one of those things that doesn't get talked about too much. Zarnak has looked more than competent out there on the ice, and I'll be honest. I've liked what I've seen on Austin Zarnak. I want to see him play more games, but there's only so many people you could suit up. He's played better than Casey Zizekas this year, but he won't win the spot as the 4th line center because Casey's guaranteed the money.
Okay, what does it tell you? Now here's the thing: we got Casey Zizekas back, except this podcast. What was the first thing I said? No freaking way. Let him walk. I don't care if it's for 10 cents. 6 years is too much term for him at 30 years old, oft injured as he is, right? And what does it tell you? You like Zarnak's performance. How much money does Zarnak make? $1 million?
That minimum.
Okay.
Like that.
What does it tell you about 4th line players? You don't have to give them long-term freaking deals. They're imminently replaceable by benchies. Imminently replaceable. We just continue to throw more money at that 4th line, the identity line.
When Casey Zizekas was in his prime, he was not eerily replaceable. He was the best 4th line center in hockey. Again, he's
a 4th line center. It's a 4th line center.
It's like saying, hey, I was the best 3rd string quarterback in all of college football, right? It's not saying all that much, but it is worth saying, right? When he was at the top of his game, he was the best 4th line center in hockey.
Hold on. If you were the best third string quarterback in college football, your team must have absolutely sucked.
That's
The
what I
fact
used
that
to
they
say back
couldn't
in
find
the day.
anybody else to be a third string quarterback tells me your team must have really sucked.
Matthew S saying, "No, I didn't play quarterback, Grum."
No kidding.
Matthew S said, "You don't. I don't want to see Palmieri at all." Well, if you think about it, we had to play 2 or 3 games when we had a ton of guys out, and most of this team has not had the quarantine period is shorter than what it was when COVID originally hit.
I don't know. Maybe you should ask Otto how they feel about it. They got hammered too.
Ottawa sucks. Well, we also suck right now too. Alexander said, "Go get Puljujarvi. See Puljujarvi."
He's performing well playing with Draisaitl and McDavid, who's out with COVID right now. So
Okay, here's the question: who wouldn't perform with Draisaitl and McDavid? I'm
Well-
pretty sure you could put Michael Del Cole in that line, and he'd have a 60-point season. Think about it: Michael Del Cole, career AHL. If you put him in McDavid and Draisaitl, just by being associated with him, he'd have a 60-point season. You could put freaking Leo Komarov on that line, and he would find his way to 45 points. I honestly think that if you put Leo Komarov with McDavid and Draisaitl, they're so damn good. It'd be like playing 4-on-5 with them just by being on the ice. Leo Komarov would probably have 45 points by the end of the year.
yeah. Here's the thing. Komarov was a proven first line player. Just ask Barry Trotz. Or Arthur Staple. They'll tell you. Maybe that's why Arthur lost his job as a beat writer for the Islanders, because with statements like that. I don't know. You tell me. That said, if you're trading Varlamov to Edmonton, I don't want anyone who's on their team. I want draft capital.
Jesse Puljujarvi is the younger player.
Okay, but who are you going to bench? That's the whole thing. Again, it's the same thing. You have so many guys on long-term deals on this team, aged veterans. Some of them have to go to make room for younger players. That's the issue. You can't just trade for a top-line winger without getting rid of somebody else.
James F. here saying, Grumpy, you said let's get younger. We don't need Marc-Andre Fleury.
No, not us. I was talking about Edmonton picking up Fleury. If you were Edmonton,
it doesn't give him a long-term answer. It doesn't even give him an answer for more than 1, maybe 2 years. I mean, how long you see Marc-Andre Fleury playing? Until he's 40 years old?
Okay.
The guy's 37, about to be 38 years old, Grump.
Yeah, but here's my thing. If you think this is the year for you to win a Stanley Cup and you're trading for a goalie in season, you go for the best goalie. You're not looking 2-3 years down the line. You're looking for immediate. That's what I'm saying.
What's to say you can't look for both? Varlamov had a good year last year. Yeah, sure, it wasn't Vezina. But, what's to say I can't look for a guy who's a better goalie than what we have now, and a guy that's going to be an answer for a few years rather than a guy who's answer for 1, maybe tops 2. I mean, Marc-Andre Fleury is not going to be playing as a starting goalie, as a top-tier goalie till he's 40 years old, right?
Who's the better goalie? Right now, who's the better goalie? That's what everything is predicated.
I don't know. Here's the thing. I know that they just won the Vezina last year for Marc-Andre Fleury, but as you said, when you're 37 years old and 38 years old, we see his numbers have started to drop. Does it have something to do with playing for Chicago? Sure. Does it
You think it has something to do with playing for Chicago?
Do you think it also has something to do with the fact that he's now 37?
No.
Players age like vinegar, not wine, Grumpy.
No. The reason why his numbers are down this year compared to last year is he's playing for Chicago. And I wouldn't expect him to put up a 95% save percentage in Edmonton, but he's better than what they have. But if you think that you want to trade away a first round pick in season for a goalie, you're looking for the best guy there is. You're just thinking about this playoff run.
That's where I disagree. I could see them looking for this year and the future. Apparently you can't fathom it. You think
Varlamov isn't the answer.
A team only wants to say, okay, we're looking for a guy for 1 year, and then if we resign him, terrific. If he retires at the end of the year, that's it. I mean, he's 37 years old.
Okay, Varlamov, how's he looked every stop but here? Just average, right? Nothing spectacular.
That's not true. With Washington, he looked good too.
How many years ago was that? You're talking, 7-8 years ago? I'm talking about in recent times. When he was in Colorado, he was just an average goalie. Just average. He comes here, he plays in our system, all of a sudden he's stellar. It's the system.
Okay, in Colorado, he did leave 2013-14 season. He finished second in Vezina.
So 8 years ago. You're not 8 years ago.
He had many seasons with a 9.2 save percentage or better in
8
Colorado.
years ago. He's nowhere near as good a
He's played
goalie as
much better. He's played much better with the Islanders.
How many Stanley Cups has he won? How many Stanley Cups has he won? 0. How many Fleury won? 1. How many Stanley Cup finals has he
How
been
many
to?
years ago did Marc-Andre Fleury win his Stanley Cup? Thanks very much.
I don't know. If you want to go back to 2013-14, everything's on the table.
Like you're invalidating a Vezina 8 years ago. And you're talking about a cup, and you're talking about a cup that Marc-Andre Fleury won a fucking over a decade ago. Get the hell out of here.
That is typical TJ in a fucking nutshell. That's TJ. That's TJ as Phil's facts right there, bringing up some obscure fact from 45 years ago to fit some little scintilla of his argument. No.
You're ridiculous. Alexander said, I think the Islanders can rip off 10 straight.
I mean, if they have if it depends on what they eat, but gastrointestinal issues, you could probably rip off 10 in a row.
Brian B said, look at that. Fart jokes. Brian B said, evening guys. Hope everybody had a great Christmas and New Year's. Hope you had a great Christmas and New Year's too, Brian B.
There's Brian, my brother from another mother, right there.
SP said, do you guys think that Palmieri is going to be the next Andrew Ladd? That's what I thought the second I saw the contract.
Nope, that's Andrew Ladd. That's Andrew Ladd. That's Anders Lee. I called him AL 2.0. That's what he is.
Matthew S. said, there's very few second line centers that you'd find better than Brock Nelson. I agree with that.
Disagree.
I also heard that Austin Matthews and McDavid both tested positive.
I didn't hear that about Matthews, but I did about McDavid.
SB said, with all of our centers locked up long term, how do we make room for Aatu Ratu?
Eventually you're going to have to move somebody out. I mean, how long realistically, how long before Ratu comes up with the big team? 3 years?
2 years tops. I mean, you look at his numbers for Jokerit. 14 games played, 6 goals and 8 assists. And this is in the Finnish Elite League.
Okay. I'm just saying that 2 years, 3 years. And he's not going to jump in.
I think he'll be with Bridgeport all next year, and I think he'll be with the Islanders after that. I'll let you talk a little bit about how he's played so far this year.
Oh, my God. Okay, that's fine. Here's the thing. TJ loves to do that, right? Because he has that overactive bladder, whatever the heck he's got. All I know is that, I don't know how he's performed. I haven't actually seen him play. All right. He's putting up pretty good numbers on a run-of-the-mill Jokerit team, right? I just think he's 2 to 3 years away. And it's not like he's going to jump in to be your second line center. They're going to ease their way into the lineup. And another thing, we don't even know who the head coach is going to be 3 years from now. It could still be Barry Trotz. It could be somebody else. We could have a new general manager. That's so far down the line that we don't know. He's not close to being a regular Islander, though. So, that's my whole business with him. Would I like to see him in this lineup? Absolutely, because it looks like he has some really amazing skill, and we need more of that on this team. So the sooner the better, but I think it's at least maybe 3 years away before he even gets a shot. Just look at how everybody else is, right? Simon Holmstrom, our pal. He's been in the minors for how many years now? 2019, 20, 21, 3 years, right? I mean, it's the same thing. They take their time with younger players. It's just the way we are. Now, if we go into full rebuild mode, maybe. Right now, we're not there, though. Look who's back.
Yeah, I'm back. You having problems with their hiccups again, Grump?
No, the fact that you threw me some obscure stat like I've been watching Finnish Elite League play and try to, spin that.
Oh, man. Well, dude, you know what? Honestly, I'm shocked you didn't talk about Samuel Bolduc's not performing still. Now, I'll flash him up on screen. He's not played well for Bridgeport at all this season. Are you hitting the panic button yet on Samuel Bolduc? Right? People maybe could have made the argument earlier on in the season. Hey, it's because he struggled. Hey, he's struggling out the gates. 21 games played, 0 points, -7. He's not played well either from like actual watching. For people who report on the games and watch every game, every Bridgeport game, not only are the stats not there regarding goals and assists, the play also has been lackluster.
His numbers look a lot like Kyle Palmieri's. I guess he's in line for a $5 million a year contract.
Is that what you think? Huh?
Actually, his numbers are better than Palmieri's. I'm not pushing the panic button. He's a younger defenseman. They take longer to develop. We don't
Do you
need to.
think we definitely overestimated the value? I mean, like, is this year kind of like a more of a? It's given us, that it's like we've got now arbitrage on it to where we understand, where his actual value is. He's no longer a guy that we pencil in to be a surefire top 4 defenseman. Maybe you're looking at a guy who's a bottom 6.
We don't know yet. He's still young. We don't know. Could we have overestimated him? Absolutely. Have we for certain? No. He's too young yet. He's 20 years old? I mean, he's just 20. He's not a supremely talented.
He's 21, Grumpy. He's 21 years old. He's ancient.
Okay. He's 21 now. Okay.
He's a younger guy. I'm not saying he's not. I'm just wondering, right? I think everybody going into this year, you looked at the point production he had last season, you look at what he did and a short sample size. They said, okay, Samuel Bolduc is definitely a guy who's going to be penciled as a top 4 guy. People are saying maybe 2 years away. I don't know. Looks longer than that, in my opinion.
But who took his spot, right? When the season started, it was Salo.
When Salo's been gone, he still hasn't been producing.
Okay, but I mean, he was injured. I mean, a lot of things contribute to that. I'm not willing to throw the talent on him. If somebody offered me a second round, we don't even get
second round pick.
I'd trade him for a second round pick. If somebody offered me, let's say somebody offered me Vladimir Tarasenko for a second round pick and Samuel Bolduc. Would you do that? I would. No.
Vladimir Tarasenko has a shoulder that is not healthy yet. I mean, Buffalo passed up on Vladimir Tarasenko, guys. Remember, that means is that, the shoulder's not good. And also what we got to remember here with Vladimir Tarasenko is they need to retain some cap on it. And also what we have to remember on Vladimir Tarasenko is apparently Lou Lamoriello wanted to rake St. Louis Blues over the fire in that deal and just wanted to completely.
It's rake them over the coals.
Guess what? I'm saying rake him over the fire. God damn it, Grumpy.
Ugh. Why don't you be like a tree and get out of here? Matter of fact, maybe I'm going to start calling you Biff on this podcast.
Who is Biff?
Oh, Biff from Back to the Future. He said to Michael J. Fox, why don't you be like a tree and get out of here? It's supposed to be, why don't you be like a tree and leave? But no, not TJ. It's not rake them over the fire. It's rake them over the coals. Biff.
Well, we can't say Vladimir Tarasenko has been healthy the entire season. 33 games played. He's got 14 goals, 19 assists, 33 points for the Vladimir Tarasenko. It's crazy. When he's healthy, he gets right back to production just as normal.
I can't wait to see what he looks like when his shoulder is healthy.
Oh, you're saying he's not healthy still?
Well, that's what, we heard numerous people say that. His shoulder's bad. What did I say? Right from the beginning, I'm rolling the dice on a talent like that. For a second round pick and a player, I'm rolling the dice.
For a prospect, yeah. Alexander saying Duchesne is better than Brock Nelson. I'm not buying that. I think Matt Duchene's overrated. I agree with Matt S. Duchesne, I think, is overrated.
He is overrated, but he's still better than Brock Nelson.
Alexander saying Franz Nielsen was a better player than Brock Nelson. No, you can't go that far. I take a Franz Nielsen to shoot at any day of the week over Brock Nelson, but not that.
Franz Nielsen in his prime was a better player than Brock Nelson. In his prime.
Get that stop. Freaking full stop. You got to get the hell out of here with that BS, Grump.
Way better defensively.
Better defensively, better player. Two different things. Better defensively, yeah.
Better player. He was really good. He was underrated, Franz Nielsen.
Oh, my God. I'm sorry. You're going to freaking kill me with that.
Brock's a stat stuffer. Empty net goals, down 7-0, makes it 7-2. That's Brock Nelson's career.
When Franz Nielsen was playing 18 minutes and 20 seconds on ice, right? You'd say 18 minutes on ice time for forward is like first line minutes for what our team is now. He was playing 18 minutes and 20 seconds of ice time back in the 2013-14 season. 80 games played, 25 goals, 33 assists, 58 points, minus 11.
Okay, whatever.
I'm just saying, man, Brock Nelson, you're giving Brock Nelson, you're not giving him the respect Brock Nelson deserves. I don't like that. Rich
A. I know you don't like it. He's your pal.
Yeah, Rich A says Mikko Koskinen on the critics from Tippett Media. It's not nice to be thrown under the bus. I have to be better, but at the same time, we scored 7 goals in my last 6 losses. We can't score. I can't score goals. Holy shit. There's no way in hell he said that. There is no way in hell he said that.
Okay.
You're making that up. I know you are. That cannot be real, Rich. And if it is, I'm about to Google search the hell out of that. There's no way that's real.
As Al Pacino said in Scent of a Woman, he goes, Connor, Leon, Dave, F you too. That's what he wanted to say right there. Now, that's not a way to endear yourself to your coach. I'm just going to say that. Or the rest of your teammates for that matter.
That is actually exactly what he said. Holy crap. Oh.
Varlamov, if I'm Lou Lamoriello, I'm calling Edmonton. What do you want to offer? Take him. And it's $5 million. Take him.
Yeah, my God. I'm looking at this. Yeah, yikes. There's a lot in this interview he had. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, this is essentially what he said.
The writer's like this. He couldn't scribble it down fast enough. I hope he could read his words at the end.
Hey, what else you want to say?
Great stuff.
I've got you right here. This is going to sell. Hey, Sports Network there. Hey, what else you want to say here for us? I got a few additional questions. What do you really feel about Tippett? What's your opinion really on him? Oh, my God. I'm still so shocked he came out. Dude, you want to talk about a toxic relationship? Yikes. Yikes.
Yep.
Oh, he told somebody in Finnish.
Oh.
I guess he thought that people were not able to translate what they say in these Finnish articles and that it wouldn't make waves in the United States.
That's not what I said, Coach. They left out a certain thing in that translation. That's not what I said at all.
God almighty. I'll tell you, that is yikes. You want to talk about a toxic locker room? Tippett's got to go too. I'm sorry. You can't say like we say that. Hey, a lot of times we wish Barry would say it like it is more often. You don't say it like that though, right? Oh, you only harass and ridicule Barry when he makes bad decisions there to the press. No, Tippett was a complete. Barry Trotz has never done anything that dumb to the press. I mean, that is ridiculous. When the team loses, it's either the coach or the goalie who gets sacrificed. I have been better, but at the same time, we've scored 7 goals in my last 6 losses. I can't score goals. It's not only about goaltending when it comes to winning and losing. Everyone has to do better from now, and we will be. We're not this bad.
I don't think the team is that bad. I think he's terrible, though. The coach called it like he saw it, and guess what? Koskinen's not wrong.
And he called it like he saw it, too. The last 6 losses, we scored 7 freaking goals. What do you expect me to do? I'm not winning those games anyway. Just because we got our asses kicked doesn't – we still weren't going to win those games anyway. Oh, man, that's Rich. Hey, buddy, I love it. Thanks for filling us in on that. Paulo C said Anders Lee, Josh Bailey, Kyle Palmieri, Brock Nelson, and Pageau are all overpaid. Brock Nelson's not overpaid. He's the one I can argue that's not overpaid. Jean-Gabriel Pageau, third-line center. Yeah, I'd say he's overpaid. He does a lot, but he's a third-line center. He's a little overpaid. $4 million would be perfect for a guy like that. Kyle Palmieri, definitely overpaid. Josh Bailey, overpaid at the moment. And Anders Lee, overpaid.
Yeah. And these are all guys signed to long-term deals. They're just guys. They're just Jags. That's
Drew
what they
said,
are.
There's a reason we cut Koskinen after 5 games, despite being drafted as a first-round pick.
I didn't think he was a first-round pick for us.
Alexander said Dylan Strome is better than Brock Nelson.
Yep.
Sam Bennett, in my opinion, is better than Brock Nelson.
Yep.
I can see you arguing Sam Bennett. I'm not sure Dylan Strome.
Absolutely.
What?
Anybody, they could throw any name up there, and I'm going to agree with it. Butch Goring was a better second-line player than Brock Nelson.
Dylan, come on. Grumpy.
Even with the shoulder.
Even with his banged-up shoulder and at this advanced age.
His little busted wing. I still go up Butch.
Oh, good gracious. Paulo C said Islanders will not make the playoffs this year because my question of who will catch Boston or Pittsburgh, no way, I don't see it.
That's my feeling.
Problem glad is he was made of glass. James F. said, guys, I'm going to try to finish my very last game in first game at UBS Arena Tuesday versus the Flyers before I move into Penguins territory. Gonna miss Long Island.
I mean, I lived on
what's
Long
gonna be
Island.
worse, the fact that you're in Penguins territory or now that you're in Pittsburgh Steelers territory, buddy. You talk about some insufferable fans, right? People don't like, Dallas Cowboy fans get like, oh, there's Dallas Cowboys fans everywhere. Oh, and you talk about like the Patriot fans are mass holes, buddy. Those Steeler fans,
they're ridiculous. But at least here's the positive. At least he's not moving to Philadelphia. There's
Oh,
no
dude,
place
those
on the
Eagle fans, ugh, and the
uh,
Flyer fans, yikes.
Philadelphia fans. They're animals. They're just disgusting. The whole city, all their sports teams, all their fans, just losers.
Alexander said, if Lee was not on this team, do you guys think he still puts up a 40-goal season or a 30-goal season, etc. on and is on the first line?
No, he's not a first line winger on any other team but this one. He's just limited. I mean, his inability to skate is just more evident every single game, in my opinion. I think he's over the knee injury. First of all, he was never fast to begin with. If that took anything away from his mobility, I just don't know why he gets a free pass all the time. Certain guys just get passes.
Mario is saying Andrew Ladd never had a chance here.
I'm going to disagree with that to an extent. He didn't fit with Tavares. That was the biggest issue. They brought him in there to take Okposo's place, and he didn't fit with him. And then he got hurt, and that was that. I mean, injuries doing everybody's career, but he was a blood and guts performer for a long time before he got here.
S&P saying the Oilers are now on a 7-game losing streak. How the mighty have fallen. That's what happens when you only have two good players.
Yeah, I think they'll rebound. They might need to change. I don't think Tippett's that good as a coach, like I said. And even with that liability nurse on the back end, I still think they're going to make the playoffs.
Druel saying he can't wait for some Islanders hockey back on TV. You and me too. And he says, I know Isles Girl 3 loves Cizikas, Casey. Yeah,
I know. And I love Kim. She's great. But, she's wrong there. Got a blind spot for him.
Alexander saying, well, Fantastic Beasts is a part of a Harry Potter series. I don't know what that is.
Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. And then they had the second one, actually, I think was pretty good.
Is that like a movie series
characters.
Harry Potter?
It's like a spin-off from Harry Potter.
Gotcha. Can't say I've watched any of it.
There's a shock.
He's just a fourth liner whose contract sucks now for certain.
Yeah, but we knew that. We knew that about Cizikas going in, right? 6-year deal. Why? Was there a market for Casey Cizikas for 6 years? 2 years tops.
They probably would have paid him more than we did. But the thing is, our reluctance to let go of a player when he's past his prime and to say, okay, you can maybe go ahead and take a guy like that who's a little bit older and is on the downside of his career. Go ahead and have at him. Our inability to say, all right, we'll let him go, and we have guys we feel like can backfill, right? That was the biggest worry. Oh, we don't have anybody who can fill Casey's spot. We've learned already in this short season, we do have Austin Zarnak who could have filled Casey's spot. We've learned a long time ago. We had Ross Johnson, who earns less, albeit $500,000 less a season, but he could fill the Matt Martin role.
There's never competition for playing spots on this team. Best players don't get the chance to start because they have their lineup is hammered into granite. It's just the way it is, and we're not good enough.
I heard granite is very malleable.
You mean like your brain?
Yeah, that's it.
Chiseled into stone, okay? Is that a better analogy for you? So here's the thing. Chiseled into stone. It's going to be there forever. And that's on the coach. That's all on the coach. The GM should say, we need to get better. Coach goes, oh, man, I love Casey Cizikas. Yeah, I know he's 45 years old. Who else can you add to this team to make our defense better? We could go for Lou goes, maybe we should go for a younger defenseman. No, man, that Char, I can turn him around at 44. Zach Parise? Yeah, I know he was benched down the stretch in Minnesota 10 straight games because he couldn't play anymore, but we can revitalize him here. He can score a goal for us. Yeah, that's a guy I want. He's going to revitalize our third year. Just talk to TJ on the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. He guarantees he's going to have 15, 20 goals a year.
Actually, I think I said that Kyle Palmieri. You talking about Kyle Palmieri or Zach Parise?
Zach Parise.
Yeah, Zach Parise actually, I think he's probably going to have 50 goals a season, maybe 60 goals. 15
or 20 is what
I think Zach Parise actually is penciled in to score at least 90 goals this year, 90 bare minimum.
Well, that's something you would say, like you said that Andrews Lee was better than Patrick Kane. Remember that one?
I think Anders Lee is better than Wayne Gretzky.
I believe that you would say that.
Yeah, he's better than Wayne Gretzky, Mario.
That's why
Lemieux
you are
combined
not the
together, Grump.
that's why you're not the NHL analyst and expert on this podcast. Statements like that.
Yeah.
But I shot out. Here's the thing. I overestimated Zach Parise also. I said tops.
I don't even know where I can get off. You know, I'm trying to find any way when you throw out that same line of BS. It's just not true. I'm trying all different approaches to finally get that maybe one day to die or to find some sort of, switch for you, but it just doesn't work. SP says the identity line is finished. They tried bringing it back when Martin was re-signed, but it hasn't been the same since Martin left the first time.
They're fourth liners. I don't give a shit what they do. They are fourth line players. If your team is the identity of a fourth line, I say it 100 times, I'd rather have my identity be a first line scoring line. That's what I want my identity to be. Not a bunch of fourth line grinders who play 10 minutes a game.
Jewel said, who wouldn't perform with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl? Zach Kassian didn't. Here's the thing. Zach Kassian did what in 2019, 2020, I think he played some minutes. He still had 34 points in 59 games played. I don't think Zach Kassian's a great player, but maybe I'm being a little hyperbolic. I still think that Leo Komarov, if he played on the wing of Connor McDavid and Draisaitl, would put up, if he stayed healthy the whole season, he put up 40 to 45 points.
Maybe. You want to know who wouldn't? If Josh Bailey played on that line, you'd see McDavid probably have 50 points on the season, and McDavid and Draisaitl 42. That's what it would be.
Why is that, Grump?
Because he kills everything he touches.
Oh, SP said, I wouldn't bet on that. TJ Komarov was on the ice for the entirety of the playoffs with Matt Barzal, only had 3 points. I don't even think McDavid and Draisaitl could carry that pylon. Here's the thing. I think, well, mind you, he was also playing with another pylon in Jordan Eberle in the playoffs. I mean, Jordan Eberle is a guy who's an auxiliary piece. And if he doesn't have additional players that could drive the line, he's not going to do that for certain. So
Josh Bailey has made a career of playing on good lines and just touching a puck and getting a secondary assist point. So, I mean, I think Komarov.
How are you circling this back to him? How are you circling that back to him? I'm talking about Leo Komarov. How are you circling this back to Josh Bailey?
I consider Josh Bailey and Leo Komarov very similar.
Let's keep
wastes.
Let's see if you can move off your hatred for him and actually talk about the real comment we've got here, Grump. Let's see if we can do that. Here's the thing. I think Draisaitl and both McDavid are top 10 players, top 10 forwards in the NHL. Matt Barzal.
Top 5.
Top 5? Okay. I was just saying, even if you want to say, Draisaitl benefits from McDavid benefits from Draisaitl, maybe they're overrated a little bit. I don't know who would argue. I'm just saying if anybody does, I don't think you can argue top 10. Matt Barzal is not a top 10 forward in the NHL. I love him. We love him, but he's not top 10. I mean, when you're playing with 2 top 10 guys, you're going to put up points just by being on the ice. Joe F says, if you're going to trade Varlamov to Edmonton, package him with somebody else.
Whenever I see Joe's picture, I just want to go over to his house and eat some of that food.
I'm about to say, I want some waffles, man. I haven't eaten dinner. I think those are some waffles with some whipped cream on them, maybe some butter, and some syrup. Oh, buddy, I could go for some dinner right about now. Ooh, grumpy. SP said, I want to see Tikkanen play. Just seeing that he's 6'9" goalie would play in the NHL would make my day. Yeah, his numbers aren't great either.
TJ, why don't you go to the bathroom and ask me to comment on Tikkanen's play in the Finnish league, who I've never seen play in 6'9". Let's see how long I can hold down the fort with that comment.
Grumpy, how has Tikkanen been playing this season? Do you happen to know? Can you give us a little bit of breakdown? I've got to run and go to the bathroom. I got to go run and fill up my water bottle. Okay, I'll be right back.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
He's in he's in not even a Swedish elite league. He's in a Swedish 1 league. So
he's never going to play here.
Yeah, I mean, here you think about it, right? That's what happens when you draft the guy. Was he like a 5th or 6th round? He was a 7th round pick.
Yeah. Not going to pan out.
7, maybe 6'9" on skates. Sorokin's the better goalie. Yeah, for certain, Sorokin is. James F. there. Nick D said, "Hey, TJ Grump, great show as always. I think Varlamov would be a better fit than the Flower. Remember last year, Fleury didn't play very well. Didn't play very well with Vegas last year.
He had the one mishap behind the net, which cost Vegas. But Varlamov's no better with the puck on his stick either. I don't think there's anyone who thinks that Varlamov's a better goalie than Fleury, including all the NHL executives and press members who voted the Vezina Trophy for Fleury last year.
For 1 year for a 1 year stint, I probably go with Marc-Andre Fleury. If it's more than that, I'd go with Varlamov. SB said Pierre Greco and Mitchell Korn make any goalie look like a star and any superstar goalie like Sorokin into a monster. Varley is very expendable. I do agree. He's very expendable. I think he definitely benefits from the system.
Yes.
Paulo C said Edmonton is very thin air. Is very thin after McDavid and Draisaitl. Are the Islanders a better overall team than Edmonton? I think so, but we're just underachieving. That's a good question, Grum. I think that as a team as a whole, I think we're a better team with a much better coach, right? When I think team, I'm also saying we have a coach that is, miles ahead of Tippett as a coach. Miles ahead.
So you're bringing in coach and general manager.
I'm saying as a
stuff
team,
like
a team. I
That's
think
organization.
In this situation, I think the team and it also includes the player. I think our goalie is miles ahead of Edmonton. I think our defense core for what it's supposed to do is miles ahead of Edmonton. I think Edmonton's top line is miles ahead of our top line. But I think the second, third, and fourth line are interchangeable for Edmonton and the Islanders.
I think
Ryan
Edmonton.
Nugent-Hopkins is injured right now, so I mean that hurts their depth.
I think they're more talented than we are.
What?
I think they're more talented than we are.
Well, when I went, what? That means I couldn't believe. I need you to expound on that. Give me a little more information on it.
Goaltending, we're better. Defense,
goaltending, we're better by a mile.
Okay. Defense, I think we're better than they are. But,
by a lot.
Okay, but offensively, they're light years better than we are.
Offensively,
light years. Star Wars. You know when they put your car, you ever heard of Star Wars? I don't know if you ever heard of that either. But they put the old hyperdrive on the Millennium Falcon. That's what it's like.
I have heard of Star Wars before, believe it or not, Grumpy. All I'm going to say here is this. Their top line is light years ahead of our top line. I think their second, third, and fourth lines are relatively interchangeable. Here's the thing. Zach Hyman, do you say he's light years ahead? Do you say he's light years ahead of our second line center? I don't.
Oh, I do. I think Zach Hyman is infinitely better than Croccarino.
You freaking ridiculous. Oh, you're ridiculous, Grump.
Kyle Palmieri's second line winger. I don't even know who they have out there. I guarantee
he's a third line. He's a third line guy. He's a third line.
Who's your second line winger?
Would you rather take Jesse Puljujarvi or Oliver Wahlstrom? I'd rather take Wahlstrom.
Okay, where does Puljujarvi play?
Second line. I mean, right now he's playing on the first line. Remember, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is out. I believe he was injured.
Okay.
That's why
he plays on the first line. That's fine. What are his numbers? Puljujarvi's numbers.
23 points this season.
23 points. How many does Croccarino have? I mean, how many does Anders Lee have? He don't have 23. I could guarantee you that. Matter of fact, I'm going to tell you what. I'll bet their whole first line has outperformed the rest of our forward group. That's what I'm going to predict. If you add up all the numbers, their first line has more points than our whole freaking team.
I'm going to say they have more points in our entire forward group. Yeah, I think that's safe to assume. I'm not sure entire team now, just because our defensemen are starting to produce a bit.
Well, no. Our defensemen are not starting to produce. Noah Dobson is starting to produce. He's got 5 goals. The rest of the Islander defense core, 2.
Defense still counts. Assists still count as points, Grom.
2 goals.
Assists still count as points, Grom. So
2 goals.
Assists are still counting as points, man.
2.
Okay, thanks for that. Moving on to the next subject. Nick D also said, Grump is right. We're not making the playoffs. Right this year off and focus on next year.
See which young guys are going to be part of the solution. Whoever's not, move on from them. We know the veterans are not part of the solution. Get rid of them.
Nick D saying, what's wrong with TJ? Fix that leaky faucet.
Ouch.
Joe F saying here, this DeFord kid is looking good, but he's still very young. Here's the thing. He's an overage guy in juniors. I know he's almost averaging like a goal a game. Oh, voice crack. He's almost averaging like a goal a game, and with assists, he's maybe got like 1.7 points a game. He's playing in juniors at like 20 years old. So it's worth taking everything with a grain of salt you see with him. I mean, he's playing against 16-year-olds.
Optimally, you'd like to see him make the team. I don't think he's a great skater from what I
Optimally, you like
heard.
to see. I'm sorry, he turns 20. He'll be turning 20 in 23 days. But hold on, you said optimally you like to see McTeam. You mean Bridgeport?
No, I'm talking about the Islanders.
What, dude? He's not making a jump from juniors to the NHL.
I didn't say he's going to the NHL. You'd like to see a fourth-round pick make your team eventually. And I mean, he looks like he's got a good shot. Not a great skater, but doesn't that fit like most of the guys on our team?
I forgot. Damn it, Fleury's won 3 cups. Grump. Last
There you
was
go.
2017.
There you go.
I think we've got about 6 untouchables. Paulo C said. I was about to say 6 or 7. I mean, it's we got a lot more guys who could be had at the right price. SP said, TJ, did you just say who is Biff? What?
Yeah, embarrassing, isn't it?
TJ, that's a real quote. Nick D said, hey, Grumpy, don't you wish you had the sports almanac?
Oh man, I tell you what. First of all, I wouldn't believe it at first. It might take a little. Maybe I take my time. Maybe especially if it was, till what, the year 2000 or whatever the heck it was. I forget how long it was, till 2025. But man, I bet you the sports almanac won't even be around in 15 years. But yeah, just shuffle through. Hey, who wins the World Series that year? Who wins the Super Bowl? What's this? World Cup? Never even heard of that. And you just, man, lay the bets down. Oh, great. Do you even know what that concept's even about? Probably not.
I remember now the sports almanac. Yeah, he goes back in time or something like that, and he accidentally leaves around like a book with all the sports almanac, and the guy Biff bets on everything and makes a lot of money. A lot of money.
Which movie did he make the money in? First one?
A Back to the Future movie. If I'm assuming, right, how many Back to the Futures are there? 3 or 4 or 2?
3, which is more goals than the Islanders' defense has scored, except for Noah Dobson.
I'm assuming he goes back and makes the money. The first one is probably they screw something up. If all about time travel, the first one they screw something up. The second one they kind of get half fixed. The third one they fix it all. I'm saying it's a second movie.
It is the second movie.
Boom, baby. Flawless thought.
Okay. But once again, you know absolutely nothing about the film series, because the third one, he travels back in time to the Old West. So it has nothing to do with that storyline. Thanks for playing.
That's right. Alexander said, isn't Koskinen a Garth Snow bust? For certain he is. Vinny Trocheck is a better player than Brock Nelson.
Absolutely.
I could agree with you. I could see that's arguable. I say that Vinny Trocheck is a better offensive player than Brock Nelson is. I think
he's better defensively too. He's a better all-around player. Vinny Trocheck is a really good player. That was a deal that I couldn't understand why Florida made that deal. But it worked out for both teams.
Who did they give up, or who did they get back in return?
I forget. You can look it up.
Okay, I'll pull that.
Because I won't look it up, because when I go to look something up, TJ says, Grumpy, stop looking things up. It takes you too long. You do it wrong. What the bit?
Drew L is letting you know, correction, Koskinen was the first pick in the second round, Grumpy. 31st overall.
Yeah, I didn't think he was the first round pick.
The Penguins beat the Blues tonight 5-3. Penguins on a 9-game winning streak now.
Tough to catch them. 43 points. They're like 1,100 points ahead of us now.
James F. said, I'm moving into Steelers territory, and I'm a Raiders fan.
Oh, man, that's really, really tough. I was a Raiders fan as a kid growing up. I hated the damn Steelers. Hated them.
The Steelers, grumpy old man.
Steelers need a quarterback. So
David D saying, hey, guys, do you think that we'll go after an offensive forward and a second pairing defenseman at the trade deadline if we start going on a 8 or 10-game winning streak? I can see us, if we're close enough, I can see us doing that.
No way. No way. I do not want to reinvest in this team. I do not want to reinvest.
Could you see them?
No. So even if you go on an 8 or 10-game winning streak, what are you going to be? 10 points out of a playoff spot as opposed to the 15 you're out now? I mean, other teams, again, you have to depend on other teams to lose. That's the toughest thing. It's not like you got to pass one team. You got to pass 5 other teams.
Okay.
They're not going to cooperate with you. They're not going to say, oh, hold on. We're playing the Islanders. Let's lay down, fellas. Wait, hold on. We're playing who tomorrow night? We make sure we lose to them so the Islanders continue to move up the standing. It's not the way it works.
It's not how it works?
No.
I thought that we've got some sort of deal made out. Vinny Trocheck, grumpy old man, was traded for Eric Halla, Lucas Walmark, and E2 Oh my God, I couldn't pronounce that. And Chase Prisky. I don't know who any of these guys are, Grump. I know who Hall is, but I'm not sure about these other guys.
Yeah, I thought it was a bad trade for Florida, but they knew what they were doing. Well,
You
when
said
they
it
had,
worked out for both of them. You're just talking about because they've won games and their record's good. It works out for them.
yeah, I don't know what they turned. Hallmark has been a pretty good player. Or what's his name?
Walmart.
He's been pretty good. I mean, they produced, or maybe they moved him for other pieces. Of course, they had a really good coach in there until they lost him for something that happened eons ago. I like Joel Quenneville. I think he's a great coach, best in the league. That's the first move they should make, hiring Joel Quenneville.
Okay, Grumpy. On to the next one. Don't say that name, Grumpy, says SP. David D saying, I'm afraid the Smurfs Rags will win this year's Lord Stanley Cup and rub it in our fan base.
No way. You do not need to worry about that this year.
Now, this is one I can get behind. Alexander says, TJ is better than Brock Nelson. Now, that's stretching it. I don't know if we can go that far.
That was a direct response to me saying that I'd vote yes for anyone being better than Brock Nelson. Thank you, Alexander. Nice cheap shot and good way for me to say no. TJ is not better than Brock Nelson. We finally found somebody Brock Nelson was better than. It's TJ.
Eve L says, do you sell high on Mayfield or does he retire on Islander? I
sell high.
Sell high every
Sell
which
high.
way. And he's got one more year of cost certainty. I mean, that's a guy who could be a first plus. That's a first and maybe a second. I'd sell high.
At least a first. It's at least a first.
First and next year's second, or maybe a second this year and next year's first. I could see that. I mean, this year's draft class is strong. I'd rather have it this year's first, but
me too. I'd rather, like I said, as many first round picks as you get, and then just restock the cupboards. That's what I'm all about this year.
Alexander said, grumpy old man's a better player than Brock Nelson.
Everybody knows that.
I'm not sure I'm buying on that one either. Andrew L said, I hope the Raiders make the playoffs. All the shit that they went through this year. Yeah.
Well, all they have to do is beat San Diego. That's a tough order.
Zachary McNally saying, and the Leafs win today.
See, that's what I mean. You got to count a lot of teams. All right, Maple Leafs, I realize are in the other division. They're going to be top three. But let's say Boston goes on a hot streak. And the
Leafs beat the Oilers today, Grumpy.
Oh, I don't
care.
The
Oilers lost again. Mike Smith got shelled in that too.
Yeah, they need a goalie. That's good. Honestly, that's good news for us.
That they continue to struggle?
Yeah. Maybe they say, hey, you know what? We need to make that move for a goalie.
I can care less about the team's struggles. Oh, man. Who doesn't love a good old
Joe Namath quote?
Good old Namath. Eva also saying, do you resign Nick Leddy in the offseason on the cheap? He's going to sign back with Detroit.
I
think they're going to sign him back on. I mean, he hasn't had a great year, but I think they're signing him back, and I think he'll sign back. He's like, okay, I get some cost certainty. He could probably get himself. I mean, like, they've got a lot of young defensemen there. I mean, Mort Cedar still is learning. They got a lot. Albert Johansson, I believe, is another young guy in their system. They got a lot of young. They're loaded in the prospect pool. They got a lot of young guys. They need veteran leadership, a guy who's been to a cup, who's won a cup before, who's been to playoffs plenty of times, plenty of Eastern Conference finals and Western Conference finals for Chicago and the Islanders. I think that's a guy who's got some teams need experience, players that have experience. That young Detroit team needs players who have playoff experience. It could teach the young kids how to play and win. Like you talk about how important it is to have the locker room presence. For Detroit, it's important at this time period to have somebody with the locker room presence. The Islanders don't need somebody like that, but Detroit does.
Yeah, I don't want Nick Leddy back.
Drew L said, normally a guy like Cizikas, you slide in a young guy like Holmstrom to take his place next year. Holmstrom, Grump.
Ugh, Holmstrom sucks. Now, here's the thing. In all honesty, Simon Holmstrom is not a bottom line player with his skill set. He should be higher up in the lineup. You don't now, of course, they draft these guys who are all around types or can play defensive side. When I'm going in the draft, particularly in the first round, I'm looking for guys with elite offensive talent. Why? It's the hardest thing to find in the league. You have to take as many shots, as many bullets in the chamber to take shots at those guys as you can and hope they pan out.
Alexander saying, when the Islanders signed Parise, man, I said how stupid the signing was. And man, I got crucified on social media because people called him the missing link. I could not believe that. I seriously thought he'd provide 10 to 15 goals. I really
He has played like the missing link. That missing link has been what? extinct for, I don't know, 100 million years. I mean, he can't play. I mean, one thing where you were not ridiculed, Alexander, was the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. You were preaching to the choir here.
Mm-hmm.
I told you that he was a waste. Why bring? Now that said, for $750,000, we don't know the bonus money, but for $750K, I'm more than happy with Parise playing as a bottom line center because he's cheap and he's expendable. That's why I have no problem with him. And he's on a 1-year deal.
David D saying we're 3 young players between the ages of 21 to 28, 28 years old, away to win the Stanley Cup or even get back to the Final Four.
At least. But you're going to have to move off some of the dead wood.
And he also says, we just ain't good enough. Right on point, grumpy old man.
Yeah, true.
What a film saying, I think the fourth line looks pretty good as long as they stay healthy. This may be their last year together. I love the podcast, but it seems like we're turning into Leafs fans. No, we're no Leafs fans. What a man.
I don't know what Leafs fans are like.
I heard relatively intolerable, but at least the Leafs media is intolerable. Let me correct myself.
Okay.
The Toronto media is intolerable, and I know the fans are like cannibals. They got a lot of reason to be kind of pissed off. I mean, what has it been like? How many years since they've won a playoff series?
I don't know. It's been like since 1967 since they won a cup. That much I can tell you.
What a man. We're just talking the hockey breeze, man. There's no Islander games for another 7 days. We'll talk about anything hockey wise you guys want.
Cannibalize our own players. I kind of like that.
That's
only the old guys, though. The young guys who are like little gazelles, they can get away. It's the old ones.
Greg Frost said, Noah Dobson could be a Norris Trophy candidate someday. This kid has great upside. I think I might be a little bit. I mean, I'm not going to jump that early, but the guy definitely shows that he could be a top 4, if not top line defenseman if he continues to grow into it. And the guys, I'll say it again. People called me crazy last time I mentioned this about a month ago. I'd give him 8 years, $7 million per the next time he has a chance for a contract extension. I don't care if that's paying him more than Adam Pelech and Ryan Pulock. He's going to put up more points than both of those players by a freaking margin.
I'm just going to say for a Norris Trophy candidate, you got to score a lot of points.
You got to be almost a point a game. It's a point a game. I mean, look at Adam Fox. Look at the Victor Hedmans. Everybody's wins the Norris is like a point a game guy.
Yeah, it's not like just playing defense is good enough. I almost think they should invent another award for best defensive defenseman.
I agree. And so like a guy who maybe has 40 points but is a fantastic defenseman could actually win what the Norris should be and what it should have always been.
Of course, I'm really not a fan of the bastardization of those things like MVP, best defender, best goalie. That's all it should be. But, like in boxing, they have welterweight, junior welterweight, super welterweight, welterweight plus, lightweight, super lightweight. It's like so many weight classes. Ridiculous. They used to just be 8 weight classes. That's it, 8.
Greg Frost saying, I would have taken Hyman over Kroc before his knee injury. This kid works hard. Kroc is a part-time floater.
On the nosy, Greg.
Joe F saying, crazy grump. His comments are insane. SP said this entire team combined has 165 points. The top 3 players in the league have 155 points. That's embarrassing. I was about to say 2 of those top players I know are on the Edmonton Oilers, and I assume Alexander Ovechkin's number 3, or he's in the top 3. I assume still. So Ovechkin, McDavid, and Draisaitl almost have as many points as the entire team put together.
Got to score to win.
Hola, and then Walmart and 2 prospects. SP said Back to the Future 2 made no sense. Marty and his girlfriend should have disappeared from the timeline when they went to the future so that they had been missing for 40 years.
Okay. I don't know that we can talk about that in greater detail on the TJ and Grumpy Old Man show, where we just talk about off the wall stuff like that. And we can get into the inconsistencies in plot lines. That said, no one expected a sequel, but that movie was hugely successful. I remember taking the warden to the movie theater to watch that movie back in the first one anyway, in 1985, I think it was, is when that movie came out.
That's before I was born, Grumpy.
No kidding. I bet you, yeah. Well, I look at your hairline. Maybe you were born before then.
Oh, you bastard. Nick D said TJ got to binge watch all 3 of the Back to the Future movies. It's a must. Maybe I've got to.
They
Nick
were
D said,
entertaining.
when do you plan on having Andy Francis or Tommy B back on the podcast? I know Grump doesn't like them with a little smiley face on. We're having Andy Francis on. We're going to reach out to him. We'll have him on here in the upcoming future. We talked about getting him on after Christmas, and I just need to get everything sorted here, what we had to do with this podcast and the other one. But we're going to have Andy Francis back on in the near future.
Here's the thing. TJ brings on all his little glad-hander pals, and they come out and they try to attack me. That's just the way they operate. So
I tried to chum the waters. I said, look at this. Look what Grumpy said 10 years ago. Get him. Get Grumpy. Burn him at the stake. Yeah.
And I just have to brush the dirt off my pants when I get done with them.
Goodness gracious. SP said, also, when old Biff gave the almanac to his younger self, he went back into the future. He never should have been able to go back to his original future. But dude, this is getting confusing, SP. I haven't watched the movie and I'm already confused.
Okay, it's like the Spider-Verse.
Enough. I don't even like that movie. That stuff was nonsense. I'm done with that stuff. Saeed Said says here, isn't the team supposed to be considered deep? What happened to us this season? Yeah, the team was supposed to be deep. Yeah, but we were deep on a whole bunch of, bottom 6 grinders. Unfortunately, we weren't deep with actual players that could produce and score goals. That's been the issue. The top line hasn't produced that many goals, and the second line has been relatively non-existent. Anthony Bevillier's played poorly. Kyle Palmieri's played like shit. Josh Bailey's played like shit. We've had a lot of players that are supposed to produce goals and are supposed to score for us that have not.
Yeah.
To keep the answer short.
Yeah, that was short. We're not deep because we're not very good. Brock Nelson is the answer to this question.
Brock Nelson or Josh Bailey. And then Greg Frost said, this podcast should be called The World According to Grump.
I like that. That's a good name, actually. And that's a play off an old movie starring Robin Williams named The World According to Garp.
Drew L said, I've been deprived of Islanders hockey so much at this point that I've been watching fish stick highlights.
Hey, that's the way to do it. I love watching old games. It's great, especially when you know your team's going to win at the end. It's even better.
Paulo C said, Pittsburgh has not lost since December 1st, and you're getting your hopes up to make the playoffs. Guys, please stop dreaming.
Everybody said Pittsburgh was done and dusted, buried. And I said, really? I see them making the playoffs.
And then Greg F. also said, it seems like the Leafs have learned defense faster than the Islanders learned offense.
Here's the difference. You can't learn how to play offense. You can learn how to be better defensively. Offense is a skill set. That's what Al Arbor always said when Torrey said, well, we could draft, this one guy scores a whole lot of goals, doesn't play a whole lot of defense. He's like, I can teach him to play some defense. Mike Bossy was the player. The rest is history.
Alexander said, guys, we can actually get the first intentional tie Sunday night if the Jags beat Indy. Then the Raiders and the Chargers both get in virtue of a tie.
Yeah. Man, oh man. I don't know. There's a lot of collusion going on for that to happen.
What? Yeah, I'm not sure the Jags would want to hurt their playoff position or their.
No. It's the Raiders and the Chargers tie on the Sunday night game. No, and that's if the Jaguars beat Indianapolis. I don't see that happening. But man, oh man, could you imagine that? Hey, coach, why don't we play this to a 0-0 tie? I bet you they kick them both out of the playoffs.
They kick them out of the league.
Yeah.
The teams would be fined huge amounts of money. Maybe they would do that. I want you to sigh. Now I finally know how to pronounce his name. Says there is actually really a deep scientific jargon. Nope. I'm sorry. What I want you to sigh. I can't be. This stuff is too confusing for me. Back to the Future. I haven't seen it.
I thought I liked Elizabeth Shue in the role of Marty's girlfriend as opposed to the girl in the second movie.
He's starting to explain the in-depth detail of Back to the Future, and it's just like I'm swimming in the deep end of the pool. I haven't even seen the damn movie. What a film's saying. Yeah, TJ, the Leafs media is brutal. We're not that bad, just trying to be positive as I could be. It's a New Year's resolution. That's a good New Year's resolution. Grump, what are your New Year's resolutions? I know we're only about 3 hours in. What type of New Year's resolutions did you have for this year?
try to be tolerant of TJ's incompetence on this podcast.
How do you think it's going so far?
I think I'm doing great.
I think you're about right now at an F on that grade. You're an F minus, Grump.
That's fine. I'll just try to do better.
Eve L said, "Can we send Palmieri back to the Devils?"
Why not? They're not going to give us a first-round draft pick. That much I can tell you.
James F said, "I'm watching Cobra Kai. Have you guys seen it? I tried watching the first episode once. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of cheesy." I said, no thanks.
Okay. Don't even ask TJ. He's such a freaking loser.
So it's Ralph Macchio and the other guy, the blonde guy, the evil guy. I don't know. Johnny, whoever the hell
It's
he
a
is.
good series. It's a good
It was
series.
something like Ralph Macchio was the car dealer, and I was like, oh, it was cringy.
It's because it's 30 or 40 years later.
Okay,
what do you think he's still doing? What do you think he's still taking? He's still in teenage or high school karate competitions?
Oh, yeah, now he's a karate coach. Cobra Kai.
You grow up and you're out of that.
No mercy. Right? Saeed S said, "How did this team even make the Final Four? We had so many bottom tier players."
We were lucky to play against Tristan Jarry, the invisible goalie, and a guy with no hip in Tuukka Rask. That's how you get.
Our system works well in the playoffs. I do believe that our system works well to beat teams that are on the level playing field in the playoffs. When you run across really talented teams, they just take over. You don't have a chance. But like when we have to make a team fight for every inch, and when you do that over a 7-game or 6-game time period where you're playing, 2 or 3 overtimes, sometimes all it takes is a slight, mishap by another team. And again, we play a grinded out style for 82 games. We're more used to saying, all right, we need to be focused and we need to make sure, we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's in every form of transition on the defensive side of the puck, and even, preventing any bad turnovers. Where other teams where they don't have to really focus as much sometimes when they play games, they can have a mental lapse in the playoff, and it allows us to go ahead and get an edge in an overtime game or to win a close game.
We got lucky.
That's a quick way to put it.
Yeah.
SB said, "That's the future or the past can predict what will happen." Oh, it's back to the future stuff. What a film said, "Don't confuse TJ with complicated movies. Have you seen Clifford the Big Red Dog?"
Oh, it's really good, TJ.
I thought Clifford the Big Red Dog was a TV show with Emily and Clifford the Big Red Dog, right?
Oh my God. I don't know. I don't watch Emily the Big Red. I bet you TJ's favorite book is See Spot Run.
I didn't even know that was a book. I know it's a movie.
Or Dick and Jane books.
And Drew L said, "If the Colts lose to the Jags, everyone is going to be torn a new asshole." Saeed S also said, "The Colts have never beat the Jaguars in Jacksonville since 2014.
This year's going to be different."
Alexander's saying they're both going to kneel it out about 15 times.
Ooh, think about that.
James F say, "Pick an Islanders game you would love to be at in their history of games. What game would it be?"
The Stanley Cup Finals, 1980 against Flyers, Game 6.
I'll pick any Stanley Cup final. Never been to a Stanley Cup final, especially with the
games. The first one was the best. And that was a great game too. Fights. We had a lead. Those slimy Flyer dogs came back and tied it in the third period, and then we went in overtime. Oh, that's the one. That's the one for me.
Word of Film said, "I think I'm doing great. Laughing my ass off, Grumpy. You're a comedian." And then Saeed S said, "It's kind of nice to see guys that are willing to rip their own players and not hold back. As a Giants fan myself, there aren't enough people like that in our fan base." Yeah, I tell you, we do not sugarcoat it. That's for certain. And I'm telling you, Seed, you got to check out the TJ and the Grumpy Old Band show. Link is in the description below. Trust me, we talk plenty about Joe Judge and the.
I don't know how Joe Judge keeps his job. I know we'll talk. I'm sure we'll talk about that tomorrow. But I don't know how Joe Judge keeps his job. And the ownership group said, "Oh, we're going to keep him." I'm like, what? This is the worst performance by the Giants in December. Like, they're the worst team in the league in December. How does the guy keep his job?
Over the last 5 years, the Giants have had the worst. They're tied for the worst winning percentage in the NFL with the Jets.
Terrible.
Let that sink in. That sink in. Yikes, it's bad. Yikes, it's bad. James F saying, "Ralph Macchio is an Islander fan. Get him a body bag.
Get him a body bag."
Drew L said, "Watch Lou, not trade."
Mr. Miyagi, do that thing you do.
Oh yeah, I like
Daniel Russo's going to compete. All right. They were getting ready to give Johnny the championship again. They couldn't believe it.
Paulo C said, guys, even if we put a plywood in front of our net, we still won't win because we can't freaking score.
True. It would have to be plexiglass. I'd like plexiglass.
What a film said, the missing piece for the Islanders was a legendary Butch Goring.
Very true.
And then Saeed S. say here, Jim Harbaugh to the Giants. Joe must go. Clown show and Mara sucks.
I
Spread the
did
hashtag.
hear that Jim Harbaugh might consider moving back to the NFL.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Heard that today.
Holy shit. You talk about.
Always got my ear to the tracks, TJ.
I was about to say, Michigan fans, I feel bad for you. Drew L said, always friendly reminder, the Jags were undefeated in 2022 until last
very
week.
Good. Very good.
I like it. I like it. Well, Grunt, man, we're here at the end of today's podcast. What do you want to say before we wrap things up today?
I just want to say love and laughter to everyone who listens and even those who don't, from TJ and the Grumpy Old Man.
And thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Make sure if you're new to the show, we invite you to stick around a while. Subscribe on YouTube, like on Facebook, and follow on Twitter. And if you enjoy the content we talk about the Islanders, I'm telling you, I promise you, you will enjoy the content Grumpy Old Man and I produce, talking about all things sports in a more relaxed and kind of a shooting the shit environment on TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. That can be found in a link in the description below. On that channel, we cover big sporting events live, and we just talk about all the things in a funny aspect about in the world of sports. But I do want to thank everybody for tuning in. Again, I hope you had a happy New Year's, a Merry Christmas, a happy holidays. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. We'll be back at it again this Saturday. We're going to have the phone line open Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll see you guys there. Thank you again, Grumpy.